LoveLore Library. Chapter 886. In the city, there were always some people who unconsciously liked to violate the traffic rules. They often secretly rejoiced that running a red light was not caught by the camera. They also often felt complacent that they were not caught by the traffic police for breaking the rules, going the wrong way, etc. This section was not a main road, so there was no traffic police on duty. However, the traffic at this intersection was relatively crowded. The driver of the Passat occupied the right turn lane in order to be the first to pass after the signal light turned green. D.D. Bao Sonli pressed the horn a few times, but the Passat turned a deaf ear. It didn't even move. It was no wonder that there was no traffic police in this section. He stopped here, and no one could do anything to him. But if he drove forward and gave up the intersection, it was equivalent to running the red light. Therefore, the driver of the Passat would not do such a stupid thing. Bao Sonli looked at the timer on the signal light. There were more than 300 seconds left. There was no overpass in this section, so the traffic flow was very slow, and the signal light was long. It couldn't be helped. Bao Sonli had to drive the car as close to the side of the road as possible. He planned to pass through the gap between the Passat and the roadside. Although the driving was extremely slow, Bao Sonli still drove the car slowly. As he was relieved, he heard a slash sound. Bao Sonli quickly looked back. It turned out that the tail of the car was still scraping the head of the Passat. Originally, if they had been going straight, the two cars would not have scraped each other. But the key problem was that Bao Sonli wanted to turn right. There were still cars driving on the right straight road. Bao Sonli couldn't make the turn too big. The Jinbei was long. If so, it would be in the middle of the road. So, inevitably, when they were turning, the tail of the Jinbei car scraped the front of the Passat. After the accident, Bao Sonli had to stop the car. He said to Yang Ming apologetically, "Brother Yang, I'm sorry. I thought I was in a hurry. I didn't expect that the more anxious I was, the more problems there would be. It's fine." What else could Yang Ming say now? After all, Bao Sonli was also doing it out of kindness, so he smiled slightly. Let's deal with the accident first. At this time, the driver of the Passat had already come down. He was squatting at the intersection of the two cars to check the problem. Then I will go down and take a look. Bao Sonli nodded with some embarrassment. Wait, that Passat driver seems to be my junior high school classmate. Zhang Bin looked at the driver of the Passat and said, "Wait for me. If it's really him, then it'll be easy to talk about." With that said, Zhang Bin and Bao Sonli got off the car together. Do you know how to drive? How could he fucking let this pass? How could you pass? Seeing the person getting off the Jinbei car, the driver of the Passat went up and accused him angrily. Because he saw that the other party's car wasn't very good, his arrogance immediately rose. If the other party drove a Mercedes-Benz, he probably wouldn't have such an attitude. Yuan Gongyi. Is that you? Zhang Bin walked over and shouted to the driver of the Passat. The driver of the Passat heard someone call his name, so he raised his head. At first, he was a little confused, but then he said, "Oh, you are Zhang Bin. Ha, it's really you." Zhang Bin was a little happy and said, "You didn't go to the last class reunion. I thought you weren't in Songjiang." I was too busy." Yuan Gongyi flicked his hair and looked like a busy person. Hee, this is great. I didn't expect to meet an acquaintance. Since everyone knows each other, I think we should just forget about it. Zhang Bin himself could drive, so he naturally knew the traffic rules. Moreover, you are also a violation. If you really wait for the traffic police to deal with it, you will also be fined. Zhang Bin, what you said is wrong. We are friends, but this is a matter. You didn't drive this car, right? If you drove it, then forget it. But now the driver isn't you, so you don't have to worry about this. Yuan Gangyi's face suddenly sank, and then he waved his hand to Zhang Bin. Zhang Bin was suddenly hung there. He was in a dilemma and was very embarrassed. He thought that since everyone was junior high school classmate, this matter would be settled, but he didn't expect Yuan Gangyi to not give him any face. Yuan Gangyi, what do you mean by this? Do you think that you don't have any responsibility for parking the car here? Zhang Bin was also a little annoyed. Of course, my car can be parked here. Yuan Gangyi pointed to a pass in the lower left corner of his window and said, look at it yourself. This is a privilege car. Zhang Bin glanced at the pass in Yuan Gangyi's window and saw that it said, news interview, parking at any time. Zhang Bin frowned. He didn't know which organization issued this privilege certificate. Nowadays, there were too many of these kinds of certificates. Many non-special vehicles would have such a pass placed under the car window. Then, they would become special vehicles and enjoy some traffic privileges. Regardless of the authenticity of his certificate, even if it was true, it might not be for him to use at this time. It was estimated that this was a media interview certificate used to facilitate the reporters to park at the scene, but it was infinitely expanded by Yuan Gangyi. If it weren't for Yang Ming watching in the car, Bao Sanli really wanted to kick this idiot under the wheel. If he wanted to get this kind of car certificate, he could probably get a row of them. Say it. How much is the compensation? Bao Sanli didn't want to waste time with such a person. He wanted to solve this matter as soon as possible. Hey, this is still a straightforward person, but since you are Zhang Bin's friend, I won't cheat you. 3,000 yuan, just a token. Yuan Gangyi said. 3,000 yuan. Bao Sanli was almost amused. Your car isn't worth this amount even if the paint is scraped off from the Mercedes-Benz. It only costs a few hundred yuan to repair the paint in the repair shop. You are really asking for a lot. Zhang Bin's face also changed. Yuan Gangyi, it's enough. Don't joke around. I'll give you 500 yuan. Bao Sanli looked at the size of the scratch and estimated in his heart. 500 yuan was more than enough. Are you sending away a beggar? Yuan Gangyi rolled his glasses and said to Bao Sanli, let me tell you. I am already giving face to Zhang Bin by asking for 3,000 yuan. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave today. Do you believe it? No matter how good Bao Sanli's temper was, he couldn't stand it at the moment, not to mention that he had a bad temper. At this moment, he could endure and negotiate with this guy. One was because this guy was Zhang Bin's junior high school classmate, and the other was because Yang Ming had an emergency. He didn't want to waste time here. But some things, you can't go too far, right? Giving you 500 yuan is already giving you a way out. What if I don't believe it? Bao Sanli sneered and asked, you don't want to give me 500 yuan. Fine, then I won't give you a penny today. Let's see what you can do to me. This is what you said. You wait for me. As Yuan Gangyi said this, he took out the phone and dialed a number. He said a few words to the other side and then hung up the phone. If you have the ability, then wait for 10 minutes. After that, Yuan Gangyi jumped into the car. In order to prevent the Jinbei van from escaping, he directly crossed the car in front of the Jinbei van and completely blocked the driver's door of the Jinbei van. In this way, it would take a lot of effort for Bao Sanli to drive. After doing all this, Yuan Gangyi sat leisurely in the car, turned on the radio, and listened to music. Brother Zhang, let's get in the car. Bao Sanli glanced at Yuan Gangyi coldly and then said to Zhang Bin. Brother Yang, just now. When they got in the car, Bao Sanli opened his mouth to explain the reason to Yang Ming. Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand. You don't have to say it. I saw it clearly in the car. Just do what you need to do. Sometimes this kind of person doesn't know how to restrain himself if you don't teach him a lesson. Yang Ming actually wanted to take this opportunity to show his strength in Song Jiang in front of Zhang Bin. These things couldn't always be hidden from Zhang Bin. Since he decided to tell him, he had to give him a heads up in advance. Bao Sanli immediately understood the meaning of Yang Ming. That was, Yang Ming was also very unhappy with Yuan Gongyi and wanted to teach him a lesson. Bao Sanli nodded, took out the phone, and made a call. Bro, Yuan Gongyi seems to be calling for help. We. Zhang Bin didn't know Bao Sanli's identity, so he was a little worried. It's okay. He is calling for help. Can't we call for help? Yang Ming said with a smile, just wait for a good show, but don't say that I don't give face to your junior high school classmate. It was fine if he didn't mention this. When it was mentioned, Zhang Bin was furious. Give face to him. Damn, what is this? He is still like this with his old classmate. It really pisses me off. Probably because Yuan Gongyi made the call first, it didn't take long for 4 or 5 little gangsters to come. When Yuan Gongyi saw them coming, he quickly got out of the car and greeted one of the guys who seemed to be the leader. Brother Toad, my car was scratched by someone here. That person was being unreasonable with me. Can you take a look? Oh. Which car is it? The person who was called Brother Toad looked up and pointed to the Jinbei van next to him. Is it this Jinbei van? Yes, this is the car. Yuan Gongyi nodded. Brother Toad waved his hand and walked to the Jinbei van with a few other little gangsters. Then, he reached out and knocked on the window of the car vigorously. The people inside, come out quickly. Hurry up. Bao Sanli looked at Yang Ming. When he saw Yang Ming nodding to him, Bao Sanli frowned and opened the door. Where are you guys from? Bao Sanli wasn't sure if these little gangsters knew him, but most of the gangsters in Songjiang were managed by his own men, so Bao Sanli directly asked where they were from. Bao Sanli didn't know them, but it was impossible for them not to know Bao Sanli. When Brother Toad saw the car door open, he wanted to go up and catch them, but he saw his boss's boss poke his head out from inside. He was frightened and stood under the car, not knowing what to do. Chapter 887. Brother Toad, what are you doing? An underling next to him wanted to go with Brother Toad to catch the person, but he saw Brother Toad standing at the door, so he wondered, go up and catch the person. Catch my ass. Brother Toad reacted at this time. He turned his head and stared at his underling. Hurry up and call Brother Bao. Then he quickly turned around and said to Bao Sanli respectfully, Brother Bao, I am following Brother Nyo. He is from Didi Bar. Bao Sanli naturally didn't know who Brother Nyo was. These little things were now taken care of by the people in the security company. He just nodded casually and then asked Brother Toad, did that guy just ask you to come? Yes. Brother Toad didn't dare to hide. Yuan Gongyi asked me to come, but if I knew that Brother Bao was here, I definitely wouldn't come. Okay, don't say those useless things. Let me ask you, what does Yuan Gongyi do? Bao Sanli first wanted to inquire about Yuan Gongyi's background. Although he basically didn't need to be afraid of anyone in Songjiang, it wouldn't be good if he beat up someone with a high status. Yuan Gongyi is responsible for advertising in Songjiang Metropolis daily. Brother Toad said, he has more money in hand. He often takes customers to Didi Bar, so we are more familiar with him. He always comes to us to settle any trouble he encounters. Because we usually take a lot of tips from him, we can't not help when there is a problem. Is he really a reporter? Bao Sanli frowned. When he saw the news interview pass on his car, he thought it was a bluff. He is not a reporter, but a person hired by the advertising department of the newspaper. Brother Toad replied truthfully. Oh, so that means the car pass on his car is real. Bao Sonli nodded and asked. What do you mean real? Only the documents on the few interview vans in the newspaper office are real. This one is based on the interview vans. It was made with money from the typing club on the streets. Brother Toad laughed and said, Brother Bao, do you want one too? Why would I want that? Bao Sonli waved his hand. Do you think I look like a reporter? That's not it. Brother Leopard, I thought you wanted to get one. Brother Toad scratched his head. After listening to Brother Toad's words, Bao Sonli didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Yuan Gangyi is quite a character. He is still so confident in using a fake certificate. He is also a badass. On the other side, Yuan Gangyi was sitting in the Passat, waiting to see the people on the Golden Cup car kneel down and beg for mercy. After he graduated from junior high school, although he was not admitted to high school, he had been in the society for a few years. He could be considered to have made a name for himself. Now, he was running advertisements for Songjiang City newspaper. He could get tens of thousands of commission a month. He was considered to be an awesome person. He had just bought a car last year. Then, he found the driver of the newspaper office and secretly borrowed the newspaper office's interview car permit. Then, he went to the typing club next door to make a fake one and put it on his car. Needless to say, after breaking the rules a few times, Yuan Gangyi found that this car permit was really useful. The traffic police on the road really gave him face. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't stop him. Once, he was stopped at a non-left turn intersection. Yuan Gangyi used the excuse that he was from the newspaper office and was in a hurry to go to the news site for an interview. The traffic police didn't say anything after hearing it and let him go directly. Then, Yuan Gangyi began to feel a little smug. He really thought that he was a big shot. Especially at the beginning of this year, he made a few friends in the society. For example, this Brother Toad was in the underworld. He could settle a lot of things for him. Yuan Gangyi even thought that there was nothing that he couldn't do in Songjiang. He was simply omnipotent. Therefore, under the extreme expansion of his self-confidence, he didn't put Bao Sonli, the driver of the Golden Cup van, in his eyes. He was even more disdainful toward his junior high school classmate, Zhang Bin. Didn't you just get admitted to university? What can you do? I didn't get admitted to university, but I am still very badass. At that time, when Zhang Bin comes to beg me, I can make some sarcastic remarks about him, and then give him face. And, just 10,000 yuan. Let him take out 10,000 yuan, and this matter will be over. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't see the scene he expected. Yuan Gangyi couldn't help but be anxious. He got out of the car personally. When he just closed the door, he saw 3 Golden Cup vans suddenly stop on the side of the road and surround his car. As Yuan Gangyi was wondering, the doors of the Golden Cup vans opened one after another. More than a dozen neatly dressed men in black jumped out from the vans. Of course, these people were obviously not of the same level as the Brother Toad that he found. If these people were the regular army, then the ones he found were simply the counterfeit army. Seeing that the people were coming, Bao Sonli pushed aside the Brother Toad and jumped out of the car. When the men in black saw Bao Sonli, they immediately stood neatly, and then bowed together, Brother Bao. Bao Sonli pointed to Yuan Gangyi, who was standing next to the Passat, and then said faintly, "It's him. Don't kill him." "Yes." The men in black said in unison. "What about us?" Brother Toad had a sad face and stood next to Bao Sonli. He didn't know how Bao Sonli would punish him. Bao Sonli was naturally not so stingy. He didn't have much to do with these people. He looked at his van that was in the middle and then said to Brother Toad, "You come and help me move my things. I want to change the van." When Brother Toad heard it, he was immediately happy. Listening to this, he probably didn't want to blame him. He quickly called his men and changed the luggage of Yang Ming, Zhang Bin, and others to another Golden Cup van. Before Yuan Gangyi could understand what was going on, he was stuffed into a van. When he shouted the name of Brother Toad, he found out that Brother Toad was carefully helping the Golden Cup van driver carry the bag. At this time, Yuan Gangyi suddenly woke up. He had provoked someone he shouldn't provoke, and he couldn't afford to provoke. After changing the van, Bao Sanli sat back in the driver's seat and then started the van. He didn't care about Brother Toad, who was waving his hand flatteringly. He stepped on the accelerator and drove away. In the van, Zhang Bin and Wang Mei were shocked and speechless, but in comparison, the most shocked one was Zhang Bin. Because he was with Yang Ming every day before, he didn't find out that Yang Ming had such power. However, Wang Mei was better because she wasn't very familiar with Yang Ming. In her opinion, Yang Ming himself was a very badass character. But what she didn't expect was that Yang Ming's driver was actually so powerful. Originally, when she saw him driving a very ordinary van, she thought that he was just an ordinary driver, but she didn't expect that the driver was actually an underworld boss. What kind of identity would Yang Ming have? When she heard Bao Sanli say that she could look for him if she had anything in Songjiang, she thought it was a bit exaggerated. What could a driver do? But now it seemed that all of this was possible. Going back to Songjiang with Zhang Bin made Wang Mei feel that it was very wise. "Bro, are you really an underworld boss?" After driving for a long time, Zhang Bin came back to his senses and asked in surprise. "I'm not." "He is." Yang Ming smiled and pointed to Bao Sanli. "Ah. Ugh." Zhang Bin was stunned. That Bao Sanli called Yang Ming Brother Yang, then what is Yang Ming? "Brother Yang, don't insult me." Bao Sanli suddenly said, "You are the boss." Hehe, Baozi is right about this. He is the boss of Songjiang. As for me, I am just the boss behind the scenes. Yang Ming smiled. "What? Bro, is it true? You are his boss?" Zhang Bin was so surprised that he couldn't describe it. Yang Ming nodded. "In fact, it's nothing. There are some other things. I will tell you slowly. Well, my uncle's house is just in front. I have to hurry over. I will let Baozi send you to the hotel." "Which hotel?" "Just text me directly." "Okay, bro." Zhang Bin hadn't recovered from his excitement. He didn't expect that the underworld boss of Songjiang City actually became his driver, and his good buddy was the behind-the-scenes boss of Songjiang's underworld boss. "Right, Baozi, come back after you go. Send my car, by the way." Yang Ming felt that it was too inconvenient to do things without a car when he returned to Songjiang. When he came to his uncle's house, Yang Ming called Yang Li and told her that he had arrived. Yang Li ran out of the villa happily. When she saw Yang Ming, she said, "Brother, you are here. If you didn't come, my dad would be worried to death." "Hehe, it's okay. Am I not here now?" Yang Ming smiled. The estrangement between the two siblings had also become harmonious with the passage of time. Although Yang Ming still disagreed with Yang Li's previous snobbishness, now Yang Li had changed after all. She was more kind to people. This made Yang Ming feel that family affection should be like this. It was the truest not to mix in any power. Yang Ming followed Yang Li into the villa. As he was about to change his shoes, Yang Li stopped him. "No need. Just wear the shoes. The servant will wipe it later. Anyway, we have to wipe it all over at night. Forget it. I came from the outside. My feet are all covered with snow. If it turns into water, it will be muddy. Yang Ming shook his head and didn't want to cause trouble for others. Yang Li quickly gave Yang Ming a pair of slippers and smiled. You are so polite when you come to my house. I'm not being polite. I just feel that changing shoes is not a complicated thing. It's just a little effort. Yang Ming said as he took out a gift from his pocket. Right, this is the gift I brought back for you from Macau a few days ago. What is it? Yang Li asked with some surprise. She suddenly felt that she was indeed a little too proud, so much so that she messed up the original family affection. Now, Yang Li suddenly felt very warm. Regardless of what the gift was, at least this feeling of being remembered and cared for by her family made her feel very comfortable. Chapter 888. Perfume, I think this smell is very good. Anna Sue's wishing spirit. Yang Ming said, maybe we also sell it here, but it's a token of my sincerity. This was the perfume that Huang Lele liked to use. Yang Ming fell in love with this smell and bought more than 10 bottles at once. He planned to give 1 bottle to each of his female friends. Just now, on the way to his uncle's house, he took out a bottle as a gift for Yang Li. Thank you. Yang Li happily took over Yang Ming's gift. Although Anna Sue also had a counter in Songjiang's Xinyi department store, this represented Yang Ming's sincerity. Going upstairs and coming to his uncle's study, Yang Li knocked on the door outside. Dad, Lily, I said that I won't eat dinner. You and your mother eat. I'm thinking about something. Uncle Yang Dashan's voice came from the study. Uncle, it's me. Yang Ming pushed open the door of the study. Oh. Yang Dashan heard Yang Ming's voice and was obviously stunned. He looked up with some surprise. Big Ming, you're back. It's great. I was waiting for you to come back and discuss these things with you. Yang Dashan stood up and quickly walked over to Yang Ming. He said excitedly, Brother Yang Ming, you're a genius. After several things, Yang Dashan's trust in Yang Ming was even higher than Yang Dahai. In his opinion, Yang Ming would definitely come up with a good way for this kind of tricky thing. Even his daughter, Yang Li, thought so too. In fact, this matter wasn't easy to say, but it wasn't too difficult to say. The key was to see what Yang Dashan wanted to do. If he broke the contract with the engineering company, it was nothing. At most, he would return the deposit and pay some liquidated damages. All the losses were only tens of thousands of yuan. But Yang Dashan was unwilling. After all, this was the first deal of the engineering machinery department that he was responsible for. He took full responsibility for the manufacturing and sales of the engineering machinery from his younger brother, Yang Dahai. He wanted to make some achievements and achieve a big career. But now, there was already a problem with the first business. How could they continue to do business? Of course, not every city had such a situation. Phoenix City was purely an accident, but even if it was an accident, Yang Dashan was unwilling. When doing business, everyone was looking for good luck on the first order. Even if it wasn't profitable, they had to make the business a success. Therefore, this was the real reason why Yang Dashan didn't want to give up. It was also the reason why he couldn't eat or drink these days. Lily, go and make some tea. I have something to discuss with Big Ming. Yang Dashan quickly instructed his daughter. All right. Yang Li smiled faintly. It had been a few days. She had never seen her father so excited. It seemed that her younger brother was capable. She quickly agreed and went downstairs to make tea. Big Ming, what happened these days? Lily also told you, right? Yang Dashan didn't need to be polite to his nephew, so he spoke directly. And I almost understood it. Isn't it just the local engineering machinery company in Phoenix City that doesn't allow us to sell machinery to them? Yang Ming nodded and expressed that he understood the situation. Yeah, according to your dad, we won't lose anything even if we give up this business. Yang Dashin said, but I don't want to give up. This is the first business. As the saying goes, everything is difficult at the beginning. So, I want to start with a good start. If the first step isn't smooth, then the next step won't be smooth. Yang Ming agreed after listening. I think so too. It's just a local machinery company in Phoenix City. It can't do much, but we have to consider how to deal with it. Yeah, I was thinking at the time. Should I let Brother Bao take some people to take care of it? But then I thought that it wasn't appropriate to do so. After all, it's their territory. A strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. If they have connections on the surface, our people won't be detained there. Yang Dashin analyzed carefully. Yang Ming thought so after listening to it. It seemed that his uncle had considered the problem very thoroughly. After the failure of the entertainment city last time, he began to be cautious in doing things. He was not as impulsive as before. This was a good thing. Uncle, you are right. If we take people with great fanfare, it won't solve the problem in the end. It's treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Even if we can escort them once, we can't escort them every time, right? Yang Ming nodded. Yeah, I think so too. If we want to do this business, we have to do it in the long run. Yang Dashin said, we always escort them so carefully. If we are not careful, we will still fall into the other party's trap. Right, how is the strength of the company that ordered the machinery from us? Since this is the case, do they still dare to buy our machinery? Yang Ming suddenly thought of such an important thing. Of course, that company is an engineering company under the Phoenix City's investment promotion agency. No matter how powerful the machinery company is, they won't dare to go against them. They can only vent their anger on us. Yang Dashin said. Then, can't the investment promotion agency intervene in this matter? Yang Ming asked after listening. The key problem is that the engineering company also has a deep background. Because of this small matter, no one is willing to fall out with anyone. Yang Dashin smiled bitterly. After listening, Yang Ming sighed helplessly. He finally understood. The bosses of the two companies were powerful, but they didn't listen to each other. Yang Dashin became the victim between them. For this matter, I think I should go to Phoenix City personally. Yang Ming said, I have to settle this. Leave the boss of the machinery company to me. You go. Yang Dashin was stunned. How can I let you go for such a dangerous matter? It's the least dangerous for me to go. Yang Ming smiled and said, don't forget who saved you and Sister Yang Li. Letting you go is the real danger. Alright, if we want to solve this matter once and for all, I have to go. This. Yang Dashin still wanted to persuade Yang Ming. But seeing how confident Yang Ming was, he also knew his nephew's ability. He hesitated and gave up. Alright, then you must be careful. Don't force it. Of course, I know what to do. Yang Ming smiled and said, right, what is the name of the machinery company in Phoenix City? Do you have any information? I will study it first. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will win every battle. Yes, I will print it out for you later. I have been worried about this matter for a few days. I even thought if we should let our provincial leaders go and talk to their provincial leaders. Yang Dashin sighed. That's not necessary. Making such a big scene will make things more complicated. Yang Ming waved his hand. Leave everything to me. As they were talking, Yang Li came in with tea. Yang Dashin told Yang Li, Li, you go and print out the information of the Songquan Machinery Company in Phoenix City. Bring it back for Big Ming to look at. Okay. Putting the tea on the table, Yang Li went to the computer to print out the information. Yang Ming and Yang Dashan casually talked for a while about some problems in the construction machinery department of Ming Yang Heavy Industry. Yang Ming didn't know much about these. It was all Yang Dashan talking, and Yang Ming just listened. Right, Big Ming, did your dad tell you? Our Ming Yang Heavy Industry's current factory buildings may not be enough. We want to choose a place to build a new factory. Do you think it is better for us to set up a real estate company or find a developer to build it? Anyway, we can produce those machines. With our current relationship, the approval of qualifications is not a problem. Set up a real estate company. Yang Ming was stunned. When the Wang family's Century Xiongfeng Group was merged, there was also real estate development. Later, they let Ho Xinhan do it. I don't know how it is now. Is it broken up and sold, or is it kept? Uncle, wait a minute. Let me ask. My friend seems to have real estate in his hands, said Yang Ming. It's in the hands of Brother Bao. My original company, right? That company has now been merged into the Century Xiongfeng Group, said Yang Dashan. Oh. Yang Ming remembered that his uncle originally had a real estate company, but since it was merged into the Century Xiongfeng Group, it meant that the real estate company was still there. There was no need to set up a new one. These companies were actually Yang Ming's. If another one was set up, it would be a bit of duplication. Yang Ming called Yang Ming and confirmed that he still had the real estate business. He had already started to develop real estate. Yang Ming hung up the phone in surprise. Uncle, my friend has the development qualifications. We can look for him when the time comes, said Yang Ming. Oh, is it reliable? Will it earn a lot of money from us, said Yang Dashan. Naturally, it won't. Yang Ming smiled. In fact, it's the investor of Ming Yang Company, President Ho Xinhan. You know him too. Yang Ming initially told Yang Dashan that Ming Yang Heavy Industry was funded by Ho Xinhan. It's him. That's great. We are all a family. Yang Dashan said with joy after listening. I just told him the specifics. You can talk about it in detail. Yang Ming said, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. After all, I just came back from Macau. I haven't gone home yet. Yes. A few days ago, your dad said that he hadn't seen you for a few days. You should go back and see. Yang Dashan said quickly. With the materials of Sankuan Machinery Company, Yang Ming walked out of his uncle's house. Bao Sanli had already driven Yang Ming's BMW X5 over. He was waiting near the villa. When he saw Yang Ming coming out, he quickly greeted him. Brother Yang, this is the car key. Bao Sanli handed the key to Yang Ming. Thank you. Yang Ming patted Bao Sanli's shoulder and took the car key. You're welcome. Bao Sanli was praised by Yang Ming, so he was very happy. Right, how is Yuan Gongyi? Yang Ming suddenly remembered Zhang Bin's junior high school classmate whom he had met before. Chapter 889. After he was beaten up, he became obedient. Bao Sanli immediately said with a smile, when he heard that the person he blackmailed was me, he almost peed his pants. But what he didn't know was that my boss was still sitting in the car at that time. Put him back. Asked Yang Ming after listening. I put him back, but I called the chief editor of Songjiang Metropolis Daily and told him about this kid's evil deeds. He will probably be fired when he goes back, said Bao Sanli. Not to mention Bao Sanli's current social status, just the advertising fee of Ming Yang Entertainment in Songjiang Metropolis Daily was a large amount. It was just that a small character like Yuan Gongyi wasn't responsible for it. Therefore, Bao Sonli's words would naturally weigh the weight of the newspaper's chief editor. As for Yuan Gongyi, such an insignificant small character was commonly known as a temporary worker. It didn't matter if he was sacrificed. Yang Ming nodded approvingly after listening. Bao Sonli now began to grow a brain. He was no longer as stupid as before, who only knew how to use his fists to teach people a lesson. It was also good to use some relationships and strategies appropriately. Brother Yang, did you come to President Yang because of the Phoenix City incident? Bao Sonli was indeed a lot smarter than before. He knew how to use his brain to figure out some things. And why? You know about it too. Yang Ming didn't intend to hide it from Bao Sonli. Yes, President Yang told me before. I wanted to bring people to beat him, but then I was afraid of causing trouble for you, so I discussed it with President Yang. Let's wait for you to come back, said Bao Sonli. You did the right thing. You don't have to worry about this. I will go personally when it's time to deliver the goods, said Yang Ming. Ah. Brother Yang, can you go by yourself? It's so dangerous. Do you want me to go with you? Bao Sonli said with some worry. Okay, I still have to protect you if you go. Yang Ming glared at Bao Sonli. Bao Sonli suddenly showed an embarrassed expression. That's right. I was confused because I was concerned. By the way, you're the boss of a big company now. Don't drive a van around in the future. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed to snatch this BMW X5 from Bao Sonli. Now that he saw Bao Sonli driving a van all day long like a full-time driver, he felt even more ashamed. Bao Sonli was the underworld boss in name and the boss of a big entertainment company. He couldn't drive a van. At first, I felt that this car would carry more people, but after I got used to it, I didn't want to change it. Bao Sonli smiled and said, well, Brother Yang, you saw it just now. I asked the company to buy this kind of car. We bought more than 10 of them. Well, you can buy a Mercedes-Benz or an Audi A8. Anyway, there are some grades. Your identity is there. You can't be too shabby. Yang Ming said. Haha, since Brother Yang approved it, then I will buy it tomorrow. Bao Sonli nodded and smiled. Or I will buy an Audi. The Mercedes-Benz is a bit too eye-catching. Alright, order a few more cars together. Give one to my dad, one to my uncle, one to Ho Jinhan, and another Audi sports car for Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming said. Chen Mengyan had long been able to drive. It was definitely not a problem for her to get a driver's license. She could probably drive after buying a car. Because he bought a house outside the university, Yang Ming had a lot of things to do himself. It became imperative to buy a car for Chen Mengyan. What type of sports car should I order? R8? Bao Sonli nodded and remembered Yang Ming's instructions. Then, he asked. R8. Yang Ming hesitated. To be honest, Sun Jie's R8 was really beautiful, but it was too flashy. Sun Jie was a graduate student. She opened a company outside the university. It was nothing to drive such a flashy car, but Chen Mengyan was different. She was just a freshman student, and her father was in a more sensitive position. Even if this car was bought by Yang Ming for her, there would probably be some people who would go to other bad places in the association. A5. The price is not very expensive. It is also very good. Yang Ming thought about it. He remembered that when he was choosing a car with Zhang Bin, he saw this car on the website of Car Home. It belonged to the Audi A series sports car. It was cost-effective and looked good. Okay. Bao Sonli nodded after listening. Buy a red one. And red is fine. It looks better for a girl to drive it. Just buy a low displacement one. I remember that the lowest displacement is 2.0. I don't want her to drive too fast. Just something is fine. Yang Ming nodded and said. Okay, I got it. Bao Sanli noted down the requirements made by Yang Ming. He planned to contact and order the car tomorrow. Of course, other people might have to wait for a few months to order a car. Bao Sanli might only need a few weeks. It couldn't be helped. No one would deliberately offend a person like Bao Sanli. His matters would be done as beautifully as possible. On the way home, the phone call to Chen Mingyan's home was made. Mingyan, I am back in Songjiang. On the other side of the phone, there was a short silence for a while. Then, Chen Mingyan's voice came with some resentment. You didn't bring back a sister this time. Yang Ming was shocked. Huang Lele. It is really like what Chen Mingyan said. Every time I go out, I seem to have a romantic encounter. If this continues, then I won't go out in the future. Why don't you talk? Hee hee. Chen Mingyan changed her tone and smiled. Don't be afraid. I am just scaring you. This time, I agreed. You don't have to blame yourself too much. Yang Ming was stunned and immediately thought that Chen Mingyan was probably talking about Suya. As for Huang Lele, forget it. I will find another opportunity to talk about it next time. Mingyan, thank you. Yang Ming could only say this at the moment. Although this thank you seemed a bit hypocritical and pale, Chen Mingyan's understanding made Yang Ming feel warm. You don't have to be so polite with me. Right, did you bring her back? Chen Mingyan naturally asked about Suya. No, she still has her own things. She probably won't come a few times a year. Yang Ming sighed. She doesn't want to add too much trouble between us. I said that I don't care about this. Chen Mingyan also knew that Suya was telling the truth. How could a superstar be the same as an ordinary person? Are you free now? Come out and eat together. Yang Ming suddenly had an impulse to miss Chen Mingyan. Now. My mother is already cooking dinner. How about tomorrow? Chen Mingyan said with some embarrassment. That's fine. Let's do it tomorrow. Yang Ming didn't insist. Right, you tell Uncle Chen to get your driver's license when you are free. I asked my friend to book a car for you. Ah. For me. Buy a car. Chen Mingyan was stunned. She didn't expect Yang Ming to suddenly buy a car for her. An Audi A5. If you are free in a while, you can check it online. I asked him to order a red one. If you don't like it, you can change to another model. It doesn't matter. Yang Ming said. I drive. It's not very good, right? Chen Mingyan said so, but she couldn't help but be surprised. There's nothing bad about it. Now there are many students who drive to school. You're not the only one. Yang Ming said. Then. Lin Jiyun also has one, right? Girls always had a mentality of comparison. Although Chen Mingyan accepted Lin Jiyun generously, deep in her heart, she still hoped that Yang Ming could be a little more partial to her side. No, she doesn't know how to drive yet, so I bought it for you. If you are free, teach her how to drive. Yang Ming probably guessed Chen Mingyan's mentality, so he said with a smile. Okay. Right, let's not talk about it first. My parents are asking me to eat. Let's call again in the evening. Chen Mingyan's mother's voice came from the phone. Chen Mingyan quickly said a few words and hung up the phone. After calling Chen Mingyan, Yang Ming called Lin Jiyun again. Unexpectedly, Lin Jiyun was still in the company at this time. Why haven't you gone home yet? What time is it now? Yang Ming said with some blame, even if it's for work, you can't tire yourself out. I will sort out the company's accounts and then I will go back. Lin Jiyun said hesitantly. Have you eaten? Asked Yang Ming. Not yet. After I finish, I will go home to eat. My mother will leave food for me every day. Lin Jiyun said. Every day. Don't tell me you've been working overtime in the company every day. Yang Ming was shocked. How can there be so many things to deal with? After Lin Jiyun said the word she didn't say anything. Yang Ming could even imagine her appearance. She bit her lip and looked very wronged. Well, you wait for me. I will go to the company now. Yang Ming said. You, don't come. I will leave soon. Lin Jiyun was shocked and said quickly. What's wrong? Yang Ming asked, puzzled. Nothing. In short, don't come. Lin Jiyun heard that Yang Ming was coming and became very panicked. Oh, okay. Yang Ming said so, but he had doubts in his heart. What happened to Lin Jiyun? Why is she so panicked when I said that I will go to the company to see her? Could it be that she did something shameful? Or is it something wrong to me? As he thought of this, Yang Ming's heart was suddenly shocked. However, it seems that it is unlikely. With Lin Jiyun's character, it is impossible for her to do anything wrong to me. In terms of feelings, it can be seen from the beginning that Lin Jiyun is a very stubborn but loyal person. In other aspects, this company is mine. Lin Jiyun is even more unlikely to do anything bad to the company. Then, at this moment, what is Lin Jiyun doing to hide from me? Chapter 890. Since there were doubts, Yang Ming was naturally anxious to rush to the company to investigate. However, when he passed by Mr. Lee's California Beef Noodle King downstairs, he remembered that Lin Jiyun hadn't eaten yet, so he went in and ordered 2 bowls of beef noodle and a few side dishes. He carried them into the company. The company's security guards knew Yang Ming. When they saw Yang Ming, they quickly wanted to greet him, but they were stopped by Yang Ming. He whispered, "Is Vice President Lin in the company?" "And she is." The security guard also whispered. Although he didn't know why Yang Ming whispered, since Yang Ming whispered, he also whispered. "These days, does she go back very late every day?" asked Yang Ming. "Yes, she leaves at 9:00 every day." The security guard nodded and replied. "Is she alone?" After Yang Ming asked this question, he felt that it was unnecessary. He didn't have to doubt Lin Jiyun's character at all. Besides, even if she were to date other men, she wouldn't choose to do it in the company. Moreover, Lin Jiyun wasn't that kind of person. However, with the previous incident with Sun Jia and Xiao Qing, Yang Ming had some evil thoughts. Could it be that Beauty Lin also has this hobby and has a lesbian relationship with a female employee? And the best partner is Chen Mengyan. That would be great. Of course, this was obviously impossible. Yang Ming was just casually fantasizing. It seems that Lin Jiyun is probably doing something that she doesn't want me to know, but it's very important to her. And Vice President Zhao leaves first every day, and the other employees also leave around the same time. The security guard replied truthfully. "Okay, then you continue to be on duty. Thank you for your hard work. The company's security will be handed over to you." Yang Ming patted the security guard's shoulder and said with a smile. The security guard nodded excitedly. Sometimes just a word of concern made them feel that their job was very meaningful and not neglected by others. Yang Ming tiptoed upstairs and walked to the door of Lin Jiyun's vice president's office. Because it was originally a one-person room, the manager's office and the conference room were all partitioned later, so the partitions were not made of walls but of glass. It was also convenient for the general manager to supervise the employees at any time. Therefore, Yang Ming could directly see the situation in the room from the outside. In fact, even if it wasn't glass, with Yang Ming's ability, it wasn't a big deal to see through it. He saw that Lin Jiyun was sitting at the desk with her head down. There was a thick pile of books in front of her. She was recording something at the moment in this small jewelry company. He even had to work overtime to finish it after work. But moreover, Lin Jiyun knew that these things couldn't be hidden from Yang Ming. So, she made a great decision and said her thoughts, "Yang Ming, I found that I am really stupid. I don't know anything about the company's management. Looking at the employees below who are familiar with the business and making suggestions for the company's management, I feel that I am useless. I am still the deputy manager, but I don't know anything. I can't do anything well. I can't even compare to Zhao Cixi. At least, Zhao Cixi is responsible for the company's publicity, but I can't help at all. Although everyone respectfully calls me Vice President Lin, I feel that I am like an idle person. So every day after work, I record down what everyone says and some business contact skills. I'm afraid that I'll forget it after a long time, so I insist on recording it every day after work. Then, I summarize it." Yang Ming listened to Lin Jiyun's explanation. He was suddenly dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. When I put Lin Jiyun in the position of vice president, I didn't think so much at all. I just thought that as my woman, she should have her own career, but I didn't expect to give Lin Jiyun so much pressure. Now that I think about it, it seems that I am too impatient. Lin Jiyun is only a 19-year-old freshman. How can she bear such a heavy burden? Then, do you also self-study these business management books after work? Yang Ming pointed to the thick business management textbooks written by Philip Kotler on the table. Lin Jiyun nodded gently. Ai. Yang Ming couldn't help but be annoyed and amused. Jiyun, in fact, as a company's manager, it's fine as long as you are in charge of the overall situation. You don't have to know everything. Just like the owner of a restaurant, he may not know how to cook. This is the same principle. That's not the same. He doesn't know how to cook, but he definitely understands the process of cooking, the materials needed, and the cost. I know that I can't understand the manufacturing of jewelry, but I must understand the company's operations. This is the same principle. Lin Jiyun refuted after listening. After Yang Ming heard it, he was a little surprised. He didn't expect Lin Jiyun to be able to say these principles. It showed that she had indeed improved. Otherwise, it was impossible to say these reasonable words. Well, you are right, but you can't exhaust your body because you have to study hard, right? If so, I will feel distressed. Yang Ming pinched Lin Jiyun's face and smiled. Look at you. You have lost weight. You guys. Don't you all like thin girls? Lin Jiyun said the words that had been suppressed in her heart for a long time, and she felt a lot better. The most important thing was that Yang Ming not only didn't laugh at her, but he also comforted her with a few words. This made Lin Jiyun's mood better, and she also followed Yang Ming to tease a few words. Yang Ming was stunned and said, "Did you learn this from others in the company?" Today, when little Tao from the company was talking about business with the customer, she said it while joking. I just remembered it when I was taking notes. Lin Jiyun nodded embarrassedly. You didn't learn well. Yang Ming reached out and poked Lin Jiyun's head. I like girls who are more plump. That way, it will feel more comfortable to touch. As he said this, Yang Ming reached out to Lin Jiyun's chest. Stop it. This is the office. He is the vice president. It's not good to let others see it. Lin Jiyun was shocked and quickly pushed away Yang Ming's hand. Isn't it night? There is no one. Yang Ming smiled and suddenly patted his head. He exclaimed, right, I was just talking. I bought beef noodles. If I don't eat it, it will be soft. It won't be tough. Yang Ming quickly opened the noodles in the disposable lunchbox, then he arranged the side dishes and handed the chopsticks to Lin Jiyun. Wow, it smells good. I haven't eaten yet. Let's eat together. Chapter 891. Lin Jiyun was helpless. She had to stand up and take the chopsticks that Yang Ming handed over. She sat on the side of the coffee table. You're affecting my study. In a while, I won't be able to remember what they said. Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day. Tall buildings start from the ground. More haste, less speed. Yang Ming said with a smile, everything needs to be done step by step. How can there be someone like you, working so hard every day? But I'm a college student studying economics. I don't think I know anything. In the future, your company will definitely become bigger and bigger. I don't want to be a waste who doesn't know anything. Lin Jiyun said until here, and her expression became a little lost. Who said that? Yang Ming felt that Lin Jiyun's current mentality seemed to be a bit of a dead end. He had to enlighten her. How can my woman be a waste? It's wrong for you to think this way. Jiyun, you know, although you're a college student studying economics, what year are you in now? You're only a freshman, and it's just the first semester of the freshman year. Now, what we're learning hasn't involved professional courses, so it can be said that you're still a person who doesn't have any management foundation. How can you be compared with those who have been in society for many years? In time, you will definitely be better than them. And, look at me. What do you think I know? I don't know anything about the company, but I can start a company. The boss doesn't necessarily know everything. It's enough as long as he knows how to use people. Jiyun, no one will look down on you because in the eyes of those employees, you're their boss no matter what. This is an unchangeable thing. But I don't do anything every day. Lin Jiyun seemed to feel that Yang Ming seemed to make some sense, but there was something wrong. Yeah. Of course, the boss doesn't do anything. If the boss can do everything, then what do the employees do? Which employee doesn't want their boss to be omnipotent? In that case, wouldn't he lose his job? Yang Ming said with a righteous look. Ah. Lin Jiyun was stunned for a long time. Seems like. Was that really the case? In fact, the situation that Yang Ming said did exist, but it wasn't as exaggerated as he said. A shrewd boss still played a great role in the development direction of the company. However, Lin Jiyun didn't know that Yang Ming was a big liar when he was in school. He fooled Xiaoying and Chen Mengyan all day long. At this time, it was easier for him to say these reasonable words. Well, let's eat first. It's good that you're studying, but don't delay your meals and rest. Also, it's winter now, and it gets dark early. I'm worried if you go back alone. Yang Ming said. Then. I will go back earlier next time. Lin Jiyun nodded. With Yang Ming's understanding and support, Lin Jiyun felt that she was full of motivation. She wasn't as negative as before. If it's late, call me. Even if I can't come because of something, I will send someone to pick you up. Yang Ming said, Bai Hai and Gu Xinyao are also fine. They have nothing to do at night, and they are familiar with you. Okay, I got it. Lin Jiyun nodded and ate the beef noodles with Yang Ming. This beef noodles is not bad. It's better than the one near our school. Yang Ming ate 2 mouthfuls and praised. Yeah, now there are several California beef noodles in the United States. I don't know which one is authentic, but the taste of this one is really good. Lin Jiyun also nodded and said, in the company, we often order lunch at their house. After dinner, under the persuasion of Yang Ming, Lin Jiyun tidied up the books on the desk and agreed to go home after work. However, she still brought her notebook with her. She planned to go back and read it. After the two left the company together, the security guard locked the door of the company. Vice President Lin leaves so late every day. Is it just to wait for Brother Yang? A security guard guessed evilly. Don't talk too much. If you don't want to die, then speak less. The security captain came over from behind and glared at the security guard who spoke. Some things shouldn't be said. Don't you remember what Brother Bao told you? The security guard was shocked and quickly stopped talking. Lin Jiyun and Yang Ming got in the car together. Yang Ming was about to start the car, but Lin Jiyun suddenly shouted, "Wait for me." And Yang Ming was stunned. He was about to ask Lin Jiyun what happened, but he saw that Lin Jiyun had already run out of the car and ran to the California beef noodles next to him. Yang Ming secretly wondered. Not long after, he saw Lin Jiyun run out again with a 5 yuan bill in her hand. She got in the car happily. Just now, you won the lottery for the beef noodles. I went to redeem the prize. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile after hearing it. Lin Jiyun is like this. Regardless of whether she has money or not, she will be meticulous in her life. However, this is also an advantage. Then the reward is for buying candy tomorrow. Yang Ming said. Okay. Lin Jiyun didn't refuse. She happily kept the money. In the cold winter night, there were few cars passing by on the road. Yang Ming drove Lin Jiyun to the last shanty town in Songjiang City. When they passed by a bar, Yang Ming suddenly slowed down and pointed out the window with some fascination. Jiyun, do you still remember this place? Lin Jiyun looked up and suddenly blushed. Here, how could she not remember? This was a place that was still fresh in her memory. Here, Lin Jiyun once foolishly sold her first time to Yang Ming, but she didn't expect this guy to leave after paying the money. Thinking of this, Lin Jiyun suddenly felt a little happy. The two of them seemed to be really fated. Moreover, although Yang Ming forced himself on her in an accident, in any case, it was better than spending money to get her when they first met, right? If that was the case, maybe there wouldn't be so many things happening after the two of them. You say, if I didn't meet you that day, what would I be like now? Thinking about it, Lin Jiyun was a little scared. There is no if. Yang Ming shook his head. If you met, then you met. But, that kind of situation does exist. Lin Jiyun still had some lingering fear. You say, if a person is walking on the road, is it possible for him to be hit by a car? Is it possible for him to fall into the ditch? Yang Ming felt that Lin Jiyun's mood wasn't very stable today, so he smiled and made an analogy. Would he say that if I walked slowly on the street, I would be hit by a car and die? If the environmental workers didn't cover the ditch fence, would I fall into the ditch and die? Hee hee. After listening to Yang Ming's analogy, Lin Jiyun couldn't help but laugh. You know how to twist words, but there is some truth to it. In the blink of an eye, the car stopped near Shanty Town. The car couldn't pass through here, so they could only get off here. Accompanying Lin Jiyun to get off the car, Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun walked side by side in the direction of Lin Jiyun's home. Jiyun, go back and discuss with your parents. Buy a building near the company. Not only is it far from the school, but it is also far from the company. Besides, living in a bungalow isn't as convenient as living in a building. Yang Ming looked at the dilapidated houses in this area and said, I heard that there will be a relocation in spring. My parents are still worried about this matter these days. Lin Jiyun said until here and sighed faintly. Yang Ming. I know you have money, but I don't want to trouble you, so Yang Ming wanted to say that there was nothing to worry about. If the money wasn't enough, he would pay for it. However, Lin Jiyun's next words blocked his mouth. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly. Jiyun, what do you mean by this? Do you want me to watch you be homeless? How is it so serious? When the time comes, we can just rent a house. Anyway, after the house is built here, there should be compensation. Then, we can just move back. Lin Jiyun shook her head and smiled. How can we be homeless? Why is that necessary? You are my girlfriend and my wife. My money is yours, not to mention that I don't lack money at all. Yang Ming was suddenly anxious. I earn money, isn't it to support my wife and children? If I don't give you money to spend, what is the use of money? What wife and children? We are still students. Lin Jiyun was suddenly embarrassed. The reason why she said that before was that she didn't want to owe Yang Ming too much. She knew Yang Ming very well. She knew that Yang Ming didn't care about the money to buy a house. Even if she didn't say it, Yang Ming would definitely buy a house. However, she felt that her identity wasn't Yang Ming's girlfriend. Even if she took Yang Ming's things, she wasn't as confident as Chen Mengyan, so she wanted to seal Yang Ming's mouth in advance. Now that she heard Yang Ming mention the topic of his wife and children, her heart was surprised and shy. Since Yang Ming could say this, it meant that at least in Yang Ming's heart, he cared about her very much. At least, the two of them had a future together. Now you are my classmate. In the future, you will be my wife. Yang Ming said disapprovingly, let's go. Since you don't want to say it, then I will talk to Uncle Lin and Auntie Xin. After that, he took Lin Jiyun's hand without any explanation and walked in the direction of her home. Lin Jiyun couldn't be helped. She had to follow Yang Ming to walk home. Lin Chongqing also knew that his daughter would come back late. He had nothing to do, so he walked around the door to see if his daughter had come back. When he looked up, he saw Yang Ming and his daughter not far away walking over here hand in hand. He quickly waved and shouted, Yang Ming, Jiyun. Dad. Lin Jiyun was held by Yang Ming, and she was a little embarrassed. However, Yang Ming called Uncle Lin generously. Come in. Lin Chongqing hadn't seen Yang Ming for a few days. He enthusiastically pulled him into the house, and the previous sadness was also diluted. Chapter 892. Yang Ming wasn't polite. Coming to Lin Jiyun's house was almost no different from entering his own home. Little Yang, you and Jiyun haven't eaten yet, right? Lin Chongqing closed the door and asked, should I get something for you two to eat? Don't bother, Uncle Lin. Jiyun and I had beef noodles in the company. We just ate. Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand. I just sent her back. I came to sit for a while and then I will leave. Oh, it's good that you ate. Lin Chongqing nodded and then said to Shen Yueping, you go and wash some fruits for little Yang. Uncle Lin, you really don't have to bother. Yang Ming said quickly. Hee, you don't have to be polite to Uncle Lin. Just treat it as your own home. Lin Chongqing smiled. Yeah, that's right. Uncle Lin, you don't have to be polite to me. I said that I don't want to eat, so I don't want to eat. I'm not being polite. Yang Ming followed Lin Chongqing's words. This child. Lin Chongqing shook his head and smiled. Okay, Yueping, then you don't have to bother. Since little Yang doesn't want to eat, then forget it. Uncle Lin, I heard from Jiyun that this place is going to be relocated. After Yang Ming sat down, he began to talk about business. Yeah, it will be at the beginning of spring at the latest. This place will be completely relocated. Lin Chongqing nodded. This place is shabby, but it's a piece of land with good feng shui. It's next to the high-end villa area in the development zone. If this place is built into a high-end residential building, the price will definitely not be cheap. Hee, that's also true. Since Uncle Lin thinks so, then you should choose the house instead of the money for relocation compensation, right? Yang Ming nodded. Originally, he also planned to persuade Lin Chongqing not to give up the long-term benefits for the immediate benefits. It didn't matter if they didn't have a place to live for the time being. Yang Ming could buy them a house. Want a house? After listening, Lin Chongqing immediately smiled bitterly. What house? The developer's conditions are very harsh. He just said that he would give money. He didn't mention a word about giving a house. Yang Ming didn't quite understand the rules of real estate, but he also felt that this was somewhat inappropriate. He frowned and asked, how much compensation per square meter? This is the notice. Little Yang, help me take a look. My house doesn't seem to be worth much. Lin Chongqing handed a notice of relocation to Yang Ming. Yang Ming took a look at it and saw that it was written with some standard phrases like responding to the call. There was a specific compensation plan at the bottom. According to the actual situation, the compensation would be 1,500 to 3,000 yuan per square meter. The actual situation was probably dependent on whether or not you had a relationship with the developer. If you had a relationship, you could get 3,000 yuan. Yang Ming suddenly remembered that the gift for Lin Jiyun was still in the car, so he quickly ran out, returned to the car, and took out the gift he brought back from Macau. Naturally, the gift for Lin Chongqing and Xin Wuping were some local specialties of Macau, and the gift for Lin Jiyun was a set of cosmetics and a bottle of perfume. I don't use cosmetics very much. Lin Jiyun took it and said with some embarrassment. And you don't usually need it, but you are the vice president of the company. If you participate in any important occasions, you can still apply some. Yang Ming knew that Lin Jiyun usually had no makeup. Even if she applied cosmetics, she only applied some sunscreen and nothing else. After Lin Jiyun listened, she nodded. Yang Ming was right. Her identity was different from the past. In the company, she was a senior leader, not a freshman student. Seeing that it was almost time, Yang Ming told Lin Jiyun to rest early and left the Lin family. As for whether the compensation after the relocation of this piece of land was unreasonable, Yang Ming didn't care now. He would ask Bao Sanli to find out which real estate company was the owner. He would give a call and compensate Lin Jiyun's family with 1,000,000 yuan. As for other people's affairs, Yang Ming didn't want to care about it. Driving away from Lin Jiyun's home, Yang Ming received a call from Zhang Bin. Bro, Wang Mei and I are in earthly paradise. Are you still coming over? Asked Zhang Bin. I have a home. Why would I go to a hotel? Yang Ming said after listening, do you think I'm like you? Bringing a woman back and not daring to go home. Hee. Zhang Bin laughed twice. My dad sighed, I still need bro to help me. Find a way yourself. Yang Ming smiled and said, hurry up and settle Wang Mei down. If Xiao Sisi really found out, you don't have to hide it. Just be honest. I don't think she will make things difficult for you. I got it, bro, don't worry. Then I will stay. Zhang Bin said, right, that brother Bao didn't ask me to pay for the room. If he doesn't want to pay, then don't pay. Yang Ming said indifferently. Wasn't this Wang Jitao's home before? Zhang Bin remembered it clearly. Could it be that brother Bao's property now? It should be like this. Yang Ming said perfunctorily and hung up the phone. Now that he had to tell Zhang Bin that this was his property, it was inevitable that he would have to explain for a long time. It wasn't very clear on the phone. Driving the car to the family area of the Songjiang bus factory, Yang Ming was surprised to find that he hadn't come back for a few days. The front of the community had been changed. It was changed to Mingyang Community. The public facilities such as the flower beds were also renovated. It must be his dad's masterpiece. Yang Ming wanted to drive the car into the community, but he found that he didn't know when a security guard came out of the sentry box set up. He directly stopped Yang Ming's car. Vehicles that don't belong to this community are not allowed to enter. I'm a resident of this community. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. What is this? I went on a long trip, and when I came back, my home changed. Which family are you from? Why haven't I seen you before? The security guard looked at Yang Ming and continued to ask. I live in the first door on the 4th floor of the 6th building. Yang Ming sweated a little. This security guard is really responsible. The first door on the 4th floor of the 6th building. The security guard took out a registration form and checked it. When he checked the first door on the 4th floor of the 6th building, he was stunned. He then turned his head and said to Yang Ming with a sullen face, I say, can't you just make it up? The first door on the 4th floor of the 6th building is our President Yang's home. I know everyone in his family. Why haven't I seen you before? The security guard subconsciously put Yang Ming in the category of people who didn't have a place to park and wanted to find a safe place to park. My surname is also Yang. Yang Ming said with a dumbfounded expression. Your surname is also Yang. Your surname isn't President Yang, right? The security guard looked at Yang Ming and said impatiently, okay, you should leave quickly. Wait, I haven't finished yet. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I mean, my surname is Yang, and my father is the President Yang you said. What? The security guard was stunned, and then he remembered. He heard that President Yang had a son, but he went out and wasn't here for a few days. He didn't expect this person in front of him to be his son. You are President Yang's son. It's true. The reason why Yang Ming was so happy was because this security guard was also doing his job seriously. Yang Ming wouldn't be angry because he refused to let him in. Not only would he not be angry, but he would also feel that he was doing his job well. Chapter 893. Then, are you going to call President Yang? I have to confirm. The security guard spoke politely, but he still couldn't change his principle. After getting a positive reply from Yang Ming, the security guard was very embarrassed and apologized to Yang Ming. He opened the courtyard door of the community. Yang Ming didn't mind. Instead, he praised him for his diligence. This made the security guard a little touched. Look at the young master of President Yang's family. He is so polite. Big Ming. You are finally back. When Yang Ming returned home, Mother Yang couldn't wait to take the luggage from Yang Ming's hands. Mom, there are local specialties I bought for you and Dad. You can open it later. Yang Ming smiled. Hee, it doesn't matter if you look or not. We are the happiest when you are back. Mother Yang smiled. Right, Big Ming, have you eaten? I have eaten. I just went to the company to pick up Lin Jiyun and ate beef noodles with her. Yang Ming said. It's good that you have eaten. Yang Dahai nodded after listening. Big Ming, although it is important to run the company well, you shouldn't neglect your studies. When the next semester starts, you still have to study hard. Dad, you can rest assured about this. No matter what, I have to get my graduation certificate first. Yang Ming said quickly. And, as long as you know it, I won't say more. Yang Dahai said, right, your birthday is coming soon. How do you want to celebrate it? How do I celebrate it? Don't we just celebrate it casually every year? Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. He didn't know why his dad suddenly mentioned this. AI. Yang Dehai sighed helplessly. This year is different from previous years. Your dad is now sitting in the position of the chairman. I don't know who dug up your file. As a result, the middle-level leaders who have a good relationship with me in the company propose to celebrate your birthday. They celebrate my birthday. Yang Ming was stunned after listening, and then he understood the meaning of those people. Dad, I am afraid that celebrating my birthday is fake. They want to take the opportunity to get close to you and build a good relationship with you, right? Something like that, but it's up to you. Yang Dehai nodded. In the past, we didn't have much money at home. Your birthday was dealt with in a hurry. But this year is different. Your mother and I are thinking about giving you a better birthday. After Yang Ming heard this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Dad, I'm not a child anymore. I think we should just forget about this. And even if it's my birthday, it'll be with Qin Mengyan and the others. It's impossible for me to spend it with your subordinates. Oh. Yang Dehai was stunned. Then he remembered that his son was not young anymore. He already had a girlfriend. Naturally, he would be together with his girlfriend. It seemed that he had worried too much, so he said, "That's good." Just now, the Phoenix City Investment Promotion Construction Company called. They have a project recently, and they urgently need these engineering instruments. They want us to send the goods as soon as possible. Very urgent. Then, are we ready for their goods here? When Yang Ming heard that it was business, he put away his smile and asked carefully. It has been prepared long ago. Because of Sankuan machinery, we have been delaying the delivery time here. Yang Dashan said, but today, listening to the tone of the investment promotion construction company, if they don't send it as soon as possible, they will cancel the deal. In this case, then you prepare the things. I will go to Phoenix City to solve this matter. Yang Ming thought about it and said. Anyway, this matter had to be solved sooner or later. It was the same whether it was earlier or later. That's great. I will ask someone to prepare the things in a while. Yang Dashan heard Yang Ming's affirmative reply and breathed a sigh of relief. However, if you go alone, you must be careful. Don't worry. There won't be a problem. Yang Ming was still very confident in his skills. Even if the other party had a master, wouldn't he run away if he couldn't win? After getting up and washing his face, Yang Ming remembered that he had an appointment with Qin Mengyan today, so he called her embarrassedly and explained. Qin Mengyan was very reasonable. After knowing that he had something important to do, she just told him to be careful. She was not unhappy because he missed the appointment. After eating a few buns downstairs, Yang Ming drove to the office of his uncle in Mingyang Heavy Industry. Big Ming, you are here. When Yang Dashan saw Yang Ming coming, he immediately greeted him happily. Everything is ready. When can you leave? Anytime. Yang Ming said indifferently, but it depends on how many things there are. The first batch of goods is not a lot. There is only a heavy-duty excavator and a pile driver. A truck can load them. Yang Dashan said, but you have to drive the truck. That's not a problem. Yang Ming didn't care what kind of car he drove. His driver's license had already been upgraded to B-license. He told his uncle not to tell his father about this matter so that he wouldn't worry. Yang Ming drove a large Dongfeng truck to Phoenix City. Although Phoenix City belonged to another province, it wasn't very far from Songjiang. It would only take about 3 hours to reach there. This was also the reason why Yang Dashan could quickly develop his business there. Sankuan Machinery Company probably had an insider in the Phoenix Investment Promotion Building. The news of Yang Ming's delivery today should have reached their ears. After Yang Ming just drove the car into the downtown area of Phoenix City, he was targeted. A modern business car blocked in front of Yang Ming's car. Yang Ming sneered. He really wanted to step on the accelerator and send him flying. However, Yang Ming also knew that this was the downtown area. If Yang Ming really did this here, he would probably bear considerable responsibility. The door of the modern business car opened, and two macho men in black jumped out. They didn't look like good people at first glance. However, Yang Ming had seen too many of this kind of people. Even if his underlings didn't have 10,000, at least 8,000 were dressed like this. Quang quang quang. A macho man with a beard vigorously knocked on Yang Ming's door. Get off, get off. What's the matter? Two big brothers. Yang Ming didn't immediately open the door. Instead, he first opened the window a little and then asked politely. Of course, if Yang Ming wanted to deal with these two guys, it wouldn't take a few seconds, but Yang Ming was very clear that these two people were just small fries. It was useless to deal with them. So if he wanted to solve the problem from the root, he still had to find their boss. Where are you from? What are you doing here? The macho man with a beard asked and gave a look to the macho man with a buzz cut next to him. The macho man with a buzz cut immediately ran to the back of Yang Ming's car and jumped on the truck quickly. Then, he pulled open the canvas covering the machinery and looked at the machinery inside. After confirming that it was an excavator and a pile driver, he quickly got off the truck and came to the side of the macho man with a beard. He nodded calmly. Of course, his action was completely seen by Yang Ming, but Yang Ming pretended not to notice. Big brother, I'm here to deliver goods. What business do you have with us? Chapter 894. Delivery Guy. Didn't your boss tell you that it is not safe to deliver goods to Phoenix City? The bearded macho man glanced at Yang Ming and said sarcastically. Not safe. What do you mean? Yang Ming began to play dumb. Okay, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. The other side had confirmed that Yang Ming was the person who delivered goods to Zhaosheng Construction on behalf of the Ming Yang Company. They didn't want to talk nonsense with him. You hurry up. Get off the car and leave. Leave the car behind. Leave. Leave the car behind. Yang Ming pretended to be surprised. What do you mean? Where are you from? Do I have to deliver the goods to the place? Where are we from? The bearded macho man sneered. We are from Sankuan Machinery. Motherfucker, what is your Ming Yang heavy industry? Why are you here to promote? Go back and tell your boss. If he dares to come again, we will kill him together. Big brother, I don't know what Sankuan Machinery is. I am just a delivery guy. I just want to deliver the goods to the place. Don't make it difficult for me. Yang Ming continued to tease the two men. If you continue to dawdle, I will detain you so that you can't leave. The buzz-cut macho man said impatiently. No, I can't leave the goods behind. You talk to your boss. Let him find our boss if he has any problems. Don't make it difficult for me. Yang Ming tried to lead the conversation in the direction he expected. Our boss. The buzz-cut macho man sneered after listening. Why don't you go and talk to him? Okay, then take me to see your boss. I will talk to him. Yang Ming nodded and said. What should we do? This kid seems to be a bit difficult to deal with. The buzz-cut macho man pulled the bearded macho man and turned around. The two men whispered. If he wants to see the boss, then take him. Anyway, he is alone. What are you afraid of? The bearded macho man said indifferently, just as well. We will take him as a hostage here. Let's see if Mingyang Heavy Industry dares to steal our business again. Okay. The buzz-cut macho man nodded. Then take him back. Hey! The bearded man turned his head and shouted at Yang Ming, you drive the car and follow us. But don't play any tricks. Otherwise, you will die in a foreign land. Oh, okay. Yang Ming nodded repeatedly. Forget it, let me follow you. The crew cut guy was worried about Yang Ming, so he jumped onto the passenger seat of Yang Ming's car. Hence, the bearded man drove in the front while Yang Ming followed behind. The two cars drove into Phoenix City's Sankun Machinery Company, Limited. The security guard on duty at the entrance glanced at the crew-cut man sitting in Yang Ming's car and waved his hand to let them pass. Alright, just park the car here, the crew-cut man pointed at an empty space in the factory and said to Yang Ming. Yang Ming followed the instructions and parked the car. He followed the crew-cut man out of the car. Before he could stand still, his arms were held by the crew-cut man and the bearded man, one on the left and one on the right. What do you mean by this? Yang Ming pretended to be panicked and asked. In fact, Yang Ming noticed the intentions of the two people before they started. It could be said that if Yang Ming wanted to guard against it, these two people would have become dead dogs. However, Yang Ming was afraid of alerting the enemy and scaring away the boss of Sankun Machinery. Some things were not easy to handle. Yang Ming now wanted to solve the problem as soon as possible. It doesn't mean anything. Here, naturally, we have the final say. You should be honest with me. Don't play any tricks. Although the bearded macho man felt that Yang Ming was not dangerous, they still had to be careful for the safety of the boss. After all, Mingyang Heavy Industry and Sankun Machinery had enmity. Who knew if this kid had bad intentions? This was also because the boss of Sankun Machinery, Yan Shoubao, had offended too many people. He had developed vigilance. Yang Ming did not resist. He was obediently escorted by the two people into the factory's office building and then went to the elevator. The elevator stopped at the 6th floor. The bearded macho man and the crew-cut man escorted Yang Ming out of the elevator, but they felt that Yang Ming did not resist, so they relaxed their vigilance. When they came to the door of the innermost office, the bearded macho man and the crew-cut man stopped and knocked on the door. Yang Ming found that many bosses liked to set up their offices in the innermost position of the floor. Come in. There was a very rough voice inside. The bearded macho man opened the door of the room and pushed Yang Ming in. Then, he closed the door. Boss, the person is here. The crew-cut man respectfully reported to a middle-aged thin man sitting behind the desk in the office. The middle-aged thin man was very thin. He had a pair of cross-eyed eyes and an aquiline nose. He looked particularly sinister. Yang Ming looked at the boss of Sankun Machinery with the corner of his eyes. At the moment, the boss was also looking at Yang Ming. Are you sent by Mingyang Heavy Industry? Yan Shoubao raised his head and stared at Yang Ming. Are you the person in charge of Sankun Machinery? Yang Ming changed his previous submissive attitude and asked faintly. I am. Yan Shoubao's eyes were cold. He looked up and down at Yang Ming. I have already guessed that Mingyang Heavy Industry would not send a useless driver to deliver goods. Moreover, it is a person who delivers goods alone. Since Yang Ming saw the person in charge of Sankun Machinery at the moment, there was no need to hide his identity. You guessed right. I am here to look for you today. But unfortunately, I don't care what you initially expected, but I saw through your plan. Yan Shoubao shrugged with some pride. Do you think that you can change anything by yourself? This is my territory. I can let you die at any time. Really? Yang Ming said disapprovingly, since I can come, of course, I won't die. Humph, you are still too inexperienced to play tricks in front of me, Yan Shoubao. Yan Shoubao said disdainfully, when the two of them called me just now, I felt that something was wrong. A little driver still has the courage to see me. However, I still let them bring you here. I want to see what tricks you want to play. Let's talk about it. What is your purpose for coming to me? What purpose do I have? Yang Ming laughed. My purpose is very simple. In the future, Ming Yang will set up a distribution point in Phoenix City. You can stay wherever you like. Yan Shoubao was stunned, and then he laughed. Did both of you hear it? Was there something wrong with this kid? Don't you think so? Ha 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 ha, I am dying of laughter. Okay, enough fun. Beat him up and then throw him out. After Yan Shoubao finished speaking, he closed his eyes. He seemed to enjoy the scream of Yang Ming that was about to come out. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't hear anything. Yan Shoubao was stunned. He opened his eyes again and said impatiently, "What's the matter with the two of you? Hurry up." The scene in front of him made Yan Shoubao very puzzled. He saw that the bearded man and the flat-top man were still standing on both sides of Yang Ming, but the difference was that both of them lowered their heads. What are you doing? Didn't you hear what I said? Yan Shoubao was a little anxious. Hee, sorry. The two of them shouldn't be able to hear what you said. When Yang Ming let go of his hand, the bearded man and the flat-top man on both sides fell to the ground with a plop. You, how is it possible? Yan Shoubao was somewhat incredulous. The bearded man and the flat-top man were two of his best men. Usually, it was not a problem for the two of them to fight against four people. How did they fall to the ground inexplicably today? However, Yan Shoubao was still smart, and he was cautious. He was usually afraid that someone would harm him, so he had bodyguards around him 24 hours a day. His office now had an inner and outer room. There was another room inside with two personal security guards who were responsible for his safety. Before Yan Shoubao could speak, the door of the inner room was pushed open. Two people wearing white suits and white gloves walked out from inside. However, after the two people came out, they did not launch an attack on Yang Ming. Instead, they stood on both sides of Yan Shoubao to protect Yan Shoubao's safety. Yang Ming suddenly understood that these two people were professional bodyguards. They were specifically responsible for Yan Shoubao's safety. In any case, as long as there was no order from Yan Shoubao, their primary task was to protect Yan Shoubao. The others were secondary. Kill him. Yan Shoubao originally just wanted to cripple Yang Ming and give a warning to the untactful Ming Yang heavy industry. But now, Yang Ming actually easily killed the bearded man and the flat-top man silently. This made Yan Shoubao suddenly angry. For so many years, no one had ever dared to make a move on his men in front of him. One had to look at the owner before beating the dog. Yan Shoubao suddenly felt that he had lost his face. Therefore, Yan Shoubao ordered the two bodyguards to kill Yang Ming directly. Anyway, the lives in his hands were not one or two. As long as it was done beautifully, no one would doubt him. However, even if he was suspected, so what? With his background in Phoenix City, there was basically no one who dared to touch him. Therefore, Yan Shoubao was so unscrupulous when he did things. Knowing that Ming Yang heavy industry was a company personally supported by the neighboring province, he dared not to give face. After the two bodyguards received the order, not all of them were dispatched. Only the bodyguard with a black mole standing on the left of Yan Shoubao moved. The other one still stood motionless beside Yan Shoubao, staring at Yang Ming vigilantly. Yang Ming saw the movements of the two people and understood that these two people were many times stronger than the previous bearded man and the flat-top man. These two people were definitely trained strictly. They cooperated well. Even if they came to fight with him, they did not forget to leave one person there to continue to protect Yan Shoubao's safety. Chapter 895. The Black Mold bodyguard didn't immediately attack Yang Ming. Instead, he moved half a meter forward in small steps and stopped 2 meters away from Yang Ming. This was a safe distance for fighting. Generally, people who often fought knew this, including Yang Ming. Standing 2 meters away, no matter if the opponent punched or kicked, he couldn't hit the target. He could react quickly. Therefore, before he figured out Yang Ming's true strength, he wouldn't act rashly. Otherwise, he would end up like the two guys lying on the ground. He wouldn't even know how he died. Come on. Let me see how you knock down the two wastes on the ground. The Black Mold bodyguard wasn't stupid. He wanted to provoke Yang Ming to make the first move, and then explore Yang Ming's depth. Once I make a move, you will also become a waste. How could Yang Ming not guess the Black Mold bodyguard's thoughts? However, Yang Ming didn't care at all because Yang Ming was 100% sure that he could kill him in one move. The Black Mold bodyguard was stunned at first, but then he immediately understood Yang Ming's meaning. He said that the bearded man and the flat-top man were wastes. Now, these two people were lying on the ground. Yang Ming's meaning was that once Yang Ming made a move, he would also be lying on the ground. The Black Mold bodyguard was a little angry, but as an excellent bodyguard, he knew that he absolutely couldn't be angry at this moment. It was taboo to be angry when fighting with others. The Black Mold bodyguard suppressed the unhappiness in his heart, but his face was expressionless. Since you took the initiative to give up the opportunity to make a move, then I won't be polite. Whatever. Yang Ming threw out 2 words, and it almost made the Black Mold bodyguard's lungs explode. He had seen arrogant people, but he had never seen such an indifferent person. He was simply looking down on his existence. This was even more unbearable than being arrogant. However, even though he was angry, the Black Mold bodyguard still did not lose his mind. The Black Mold bodyguard carefully kicked forward. Of course, he was only baiting Yang Ming, so the kick was completely a feint. He was 2 meters away from Yang Ming. No matter how long his leg was, it was impossible for him to kick Yang Ming. Are you warming up? Yang Ming didn't even try to dodge. He stood in place and looked at the Black Mold bodyguard with a faint smile. The Black Mold bodyguard knew that his intentions had been seen through by Yang Ming, and he was immediately embarrassed. He blushed and coughed twice. It was not good for him to deny it, so he could only say, "What? You don't want to make a move, and you don't want me to warm up?" "Sure. Why can't I? You can do whatever you want." Yang Ming made a go-ahead gesture, and then stood aside with his arms crossed. He looked like it had nothing to do with him, which made the Black Mold bodyguard angry, but there was nothing he could do. It seemed that it was impossible to lure Yang Ming to make a move first. He could only find an opportunity to make a move himself. Yang Ming didn't have to wait for this guy to make a move first and kill him. The shock to Yan Shoubao was not strong. The longer it was delayed, the greater the pressure on Yan Shoubao's heart. Only then could this guy be completely afraid of him. The next time Mingyang Heavy Industry came here to deliver goods, he would warmly welcome them with a red flag. The Black Mold bodyguard took advantage of Yang Ming's absent-mindedness and suddenly made a move. He wanted to catch Yang Ming off guard. Moreover, it seemed that he did catch Yang Ming off guard. Yang Ming still stood there and did not move, as if he did not react. The Black Mold bodyguard was overjoyed. "Who asked you to be pretentious? You deserve to be unlucky. I will take your life directly when you are not prepared." The Black Mold bodyguard's fist slammed into Yang Ming's face. He used all of his strength at once. Even if he hit a sandbag, the sandbag would explode. Therefore, the black mold bodyguard seemed to have seen the scene of Yang Ming's head exploding and his brain splattering everywhere. There was a cruel smile at the corner of his mouth. He didn't know how many souls had died under his iron fist. Since the black mold bodyguard was hired by Yan Shoubao, he had eliminated many opponents for him. Now, Yan Shoubao could stand at the top of Phoenix City because of his ferocity and cruelty. The two bodyguards under him could kill without blinking an eye. The next moment, the black mold bodyguard felt that something was wrong. The distance between himself and Yang Ming was not so long. Logically, his fist should have hit Yang Ming's head. Thinking of this, the black mold bodyguard was shocked. When he regained his senses, he suddenly found that although Yang Ming did not move his position, his head had already tilted to the side. His punch had completely missed. It had gone through the gap that he had opened up and hit nothing but air. The black mold bodyguard quickly wanted to withdraw his hand because his body was tilted at the moment. His center of gravity was not very stable. His whole body was full of weaknesses. If Yang Ming took this opportunity to make a move, then he would be useless. However, could Yang Ming not make a move? Yang Ming looked at the black mold bodyguard with a smile. Well, I am going to make a move. Please pay attention. The black mold bodyguard's nose almost fumed. He thought, how can I pay attention to my current posture? Isn't your reminder equal to nonsense? However, before he had time to complain, Yang Ming had already made a move. Yang Ming kicked out fiercely and hit the black mold bodyguard's crotch. Ayo! The black mold bodyguard's voice was like a music box. He raised several degrees in an instant. His eyes bulged out, and his mouth opened into an O shape. His hands desperately covered his crotch. He knelt on the ground and couldn't help but tremble. Yang Ming certainly knew the strength of his kick. This black mold bodyguard estimated that he could basically enter the palace. Oh, I have heard a lot about you. It turns out that this brother is from the Cover Your Crotch faction. I am sorry to offend you. Yang Ming acted as if nothing had happened and said to the black mold bodyguard who was in pain on the ground. How could the black mold bodyguard still have the strength to speak? At this moment, he was squeezed by Yang Ming. He immediately became anxious. He was in so much pain that his eyes rolled back, and he fainted. Yan Shoubao's face twitched violently. He didn't expect Yang Ming's move to be so vicious. Seeing the black mold bodyguard's miserable appearance on the ground, Yan Shoubao couldn't help but sweat. How painful is this? Is it your turn? Yang Ming pointed to another fair-skinned bodyguard and said, Little Gigolo, what sect are you from? The fair-skinned bodyguard who was called a Little Gigolo was speechless. He was just a mixed race. How did he become a Little Gigolo? However, after being squeezed by Yang Ming, the Little Gigolo did not speak immediately, but quietly waited for Yan Shoubao's order. The black mold bodyguard was kicked in the crotch by Yang Ming. Now, it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. He was the only one left to protect Yan Shoubao, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, who would protect Yan Shoubao's safety? Yan Shoubao was also a little scared. The black mold bodyguard was known as the Iron Fist. This guy was invited from the underground boxing ring in the south at a high price. Yan Shoubao didn't know how many wronged souls had been born under his fist. Now, he was kicked by Yang Ming, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Although the move was a bit despicable, it was undeniable that Yang Ming was still very strong. Otherwise, he would have died under the black mold bodyguard's old fist. People who go against me don't have a good end. After all, Yan Shoubao was a person who had been through a lot. At this moment, he could still keep calm. The previous matter is forgiven. We are even. This time, you can send your goods. I won't interfere, but there will be no next time. Really? Is that all? Yang Ming looked at Yan Shoubao and asked. Yes, I promise. Yan Shoubao nodded. He wasn't sure whether the gigolo could kill Yang Ming, so he chose to retreat. After all, Yang Ming's kick and the distorted expression on the black mold bodyguard's face made Yan Shoubao very scared. He didn't want Yang Ming to kick him like that. But what if I don't agree? Yang Ming smiled and looked at Yan Shoubao. Yan Shoubao thought that Yang Ming agreed, but he didn't expect this guy to be unsatisfied. He was suddenly angry and said, "Don't push me too far. I tell you, Yan Shoubao, am not afraid of anyone. Today, I let you go, not because I am afraid of you, but because I respect you as a good fighter. I think you are also a fighter that Ming Yang spent a lot of money to hire, right? This matter has nothing to do with you. You have completed your task. Just go back and get the money. What do other things have to do with you?" Wrong. The task I received was for Ming Yang Heavy Industry to be unimpeded in Phoenix City in the future. Not this time. Yang Ming waved his hand and said. Humph. Yan Shoubao snorted coldly, but his hand quietly touched his lower body. In his opinion, Yang Ming's skill was good, but no matter how fast he was, could he be faster than a bullet? He thought that the black mold bodyguard could easily kill Yang Ming, so Yan Shoubao did not intend to use a gun. Now, since he was not sure to use force to solve it, he would use a gun. What are you touching? How could Yan Shoubao's action be hidden from Yang Ming? Yang Ming glanced through Yan Shoubao's desk and saw the movement of his hand below. Are you touching your penis? Do you also want to try my end of posterity kick? Or do you want to join the Cover Your Crotch gang? Do you want me to help you? Yan Shoubao's movement suddenly stagnated, but then he was relieved. Even if Yang Ming noticed the intention, so what? No matter how badass he was, he couldn't beat a pistol, so the movement of his hand did not stop and continued to touch the pistol. Don't move. Look up and see what this is. Yang Ming raised his hand in an instant, but there was a small lipstick-shaped pistol in his hand. This was obtained from Wang Xiaoyan in Macau. At that time, the bullets were used up, but after returning, Yang Ming added a few more. In the assassin suit that Fong Tian gave him, there were many different types of bullets. What is this? Yan Shoubao was stunned. He had never seen the thing in Yang Ming's hand. Gun. Do you want to try? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Chapter 896. Gun. Yan Shoubao was stunned, but he didn't think that the thing in Yang Ming's hand would be a gun. And, do you want to try it? Yang Ming nodded. Are you stupid? Yan Shoubao thought that Yang Ming was just an alarmist. Having said that, no matter how badass Yan Shoubao was in Phoenix City, he had a poor knowledge of guns. The domestic gun control was quite strict. Yan Shoubao also spent a lot of effort to buy a 54 Black Star pistol from a southerner. In his opinion, pistols should be very big. What was Yang Ming's lipstick-like thing? How could it be a pistol? Therefore, since Yan Shoubao thought that Yang Ming was lying, he was no longer afraid. His hand continued to touch his gun. Pang, a soft sound. The gigolo next to Yan Shoubao covered his left thigh and squatted down with sweat. Because this lipstick pistol had a good silencer function, the gunshot was not loud. If one didn't listen carefully, it would not be noticed. Yan Shoubao was nervously pulling out his gun, so obviously, he didn't hear it. Seeing the gigolo next to him suddenly squatting on the ground, he was somewhat inexplicable. What happened to you? The gigolo was suddenly very depressed. I was shot. Can't you see it? You are an invincible super idiot in the universe. If you didn't always doubt the authenticity of other people's guns, would they use me as an experiment? At this time, Yan Shoubao also saw the bloody hole in the gigolo's leg, and he was shocked. In other words, the gun in Yang Ming's hand was real. Is that really a gun? Yan Shoubao was shocked. And, do you want to try it? Yang Ming nodded and said in a plain tone. Forget it. I won't try. After Yan Shoubao knew that Yang Ming's gun was real, he was scared and didn't dare to pull out his gun again. When he saw Yang Ming shoot without hesitation, he understood that Yang Ming must be a master who killed people without blinking an eye. If this kind of person provoked him, it would be death. There was no other result. Pang! There was another soft gunshot. If one didn't listen carefully, one would think that something fell to the ground. Ah! Yan Shoubao screamed and almost rolled his eyes. He covered his left shoulder with his hand. Blood flowed out from his fingers, and suddenly half of his suit was dyed red. Yan Shoubao was angry and scared. I already said that I won't try it. Why is this guy still shooting? What is he doing? Gritting his teeth and enduring the pain in his shoulder, Yan Shoubao asked, why are you still shooting me? Yang said, Yan's right, eyes said, eyes. I saw you, est. Let me see if I can kill you and satisfy your little wish before you die. Yan Shoubao cursed in his heart. What do you mean by my preferred way of dying? I haven't died yet. How do I know how to die? Don't even think about the kick that ends one's bloodline. Being kicked is not a joke. Yan Shoubao shuddered when he thought of the black mold bodyguard's appearance. It seems that being killed by a bullet is the most refreshing way to die. But, who wants to die? No matter how refreshing the death is, it is still death in the end. Isn't it crazy to seek death? Hurry up. Have you thought about it? After I kill you, I have to go to the investment promotion construction company to deliver the goods. If the time is delayed, they will ask me for liquidated damages. Can you compensate me? Yang Ming glared at Yan Shoubao and said angrily. Yan Shoubao almost cried after listening to Yang Ming's words. He thought, how much is the liquidated damages? Compared to my life, it's nothing. However, he didn't dare to say this. He could only think about it in his heart. However, when he thought that he was going to die soon, all the defenses in his heart collapsed. Tears and snot came out together. Brother, I don't want to die. Can you not kill me? Don't kill you. Yang Ming glared. I have already taken Ming Yang's money and said that I will help them settle the matter. Haven't you heard of the saying that you take people's money to solve their problems? I have promised them that Ming Yang heavy industry will definitely be unhindered in Phoenix City in the future. Brother, there will definitely be no hindrance in the future. There must be no hindrance. Don't kill me. I will definitely not find trouble with Ming Yang heavy industry. Yan Shoubao listened to Yang Ming's reason for killing him. He was speechless suddenly. My life is really worthless. But what can I do? The strength of the other party is obviously stronger than my own side. Even the pistol is several times more advanced than my own. At first glance, I can see that it is a professional. After listening to Yang Ming's words, he suddenly understood. The other party is the kind of professional who works for money. How can my bodyguards be the opponents of a professional? Damn, do you think I will believe you just because you said so? Yang Ming glared at him and said, our organization needs credibility. If you go back on your words after I leave, our organization's reputation will be ruined. Yan Shoubao was shocked. What kind of organization is this guy in front of me? He did have the idea of sending Yang Ming away before making a plan, but now he was a little shaken after listening to it. This kind of organization, the most important thing is reputation. If this mission fails, then maybe no one will look for them next time. Could it be that this fellow was determined to kill him? I can give you money. How much money do they give you? I will give you double as long as you don't kill me, Yan Shoubao said quickly. However, after he finished speaking, he realized that he had said something stupid. Other people's organizations must have credibility. If there was such a situation of eating from both sides, who would dare to look for them in the future? Sure enough, Yang Ming frowned after listening and said, "Do you have a problem? Our organization has regulations. Since the mission is accepted, you have to be responsible for it to the end. It is useless for you to bribe me. Can't I not die?" Yan Shoubao completely collapsed. "Brother, if you don't kill me, you can do anything else. If you don't die, how can I guarantee that you will not find trouble with Ming Yang Heavy Industry in the future?" Yang Ming sneered after hearing that. "When we carry out a mission, we emphasize on getting it done in one go. I hate missions that require rework the most. If you regret it, then I have to come here again. Will you reimburse me for the fare?" Yan Shoubao had been weakened by Yang Ming's attack, so he didn't care. "My life isn't even worth the cost of a car. I am most annoyed with after-sales service missions. Hurry up. Don't talk nonsense. If you don't choose the way to die, I will give you a random one." Yang Ming waved his hand and said, "But the probability of ending one's lineage is relatively high. I just learned this trick. I found that it is quite easy to use. Don't end one's lineage. Brother, I really don't want to die. Don't kill me. I also promise that you won't have after-sales service in the future. I will cancel the company tomorrow, no, in a while. Is that not enough? I will change my line of business. I will open a restaurant and a bath. In short, I will never do the current business again." Yan Shoubao was really afraid of death. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so desperate. "Really?" Yang Ming seemed to hesitate after listening to Yan Shoubao's words. Yan Shoubao was suddenly overjoyed. When he saw Yang Ming's appearance, he knew that there seemed to be a chance to turn things around. He quickly said, "I swear, I will cancel the company in a while, and then give you a fare. If I want to trouble the Ming Yang company again, brother, you can use the fare I gave you to end me at any time." "Oh, it seems to make sense." Yang Ming nodded after listening and then said, "Okay, then that's it. I just saved a bullet. My bullet is specially made. It costs dozens of yuan." Yan Shoubao was a little crazy. Dozens of yuan. That's my life. However, he didn't dare to show the slightest impropriety. He said to Yang Ming, "Brother, I have the key to the safe here. There are 500,000 yuan in cash. I will give it to you as a fare. I can't lift my hand. You can get it yourself. The password is 321125. Yang Ming took the key to the safe. To be honest, he didn't want to kill Yan Shoubao directly. After all, Yan Shoubao was a well-known figure in Phoenix City. If he killed him, it would not be so easy to settle. After all, after an investigation, it would be found that there was a conflict between Ming Yang Heavy Industry and Yan Shoubao's Sankun Machinery. However, it didn't matter to Yan Shoubao's underlings. Even if Yang Ming didn't deal with it, Yan Shoubao would definitely dispose of their bodies. It was estimated that this black mold bodyguard and the gigolo were people who had murder cases on their hands. Yan Shoubao didn't want anyone to check their identities. In fact, 500,000 yuan was really a small number for Yang Ming. It was even somewhat insignificant. However, the reason why Yang Ming still took the key to the safe was actually to test Yan Shoubao. Therefore, Yang Ming took the key and squatted in front of the safe, exposing his entire back to Yan Shoubao. However, Yang Ming closed his glasses at the moment and used his special ability to monitor the movements of Yan Shoubao behind him. Yang Ming deliberately pretended to be unfamiliar with opening the safe. He inserted the key several times, but he didn't insert it into the safe. What made Yang Ming feel relieved was that Yan Shoubao didn't make any movements at the moment. He still sat there in fear and trepidation, watching Yang Ming open the safe. However, Yan Shoubao didn't move, but the gigolo bodyguard who had been squatting on the ground next to Yan Shoubao moved. He slowly touched the gun under Yan Shoubao's table with his hand. As he touched it, he stared at Yang Ming's movements with vigilance. Fortunately, the gigolo breathed a sigh of relief. When he held the gun in his hand, Yang Ming's key had not yet been inserted into the safe. The gigolo suddenly felt that the opportunity had come. Chapter 897. The gigolo took a deep breath, then he suddenly raised the pistol and aimed at Yang Ming. Yan Shoubao also saw the gigolo's action at the moment. He didn't know why, but he suddenly had an impulse to stop the gigolo. He just felt that Yang Ming couldn't be killed by this gigolo. The next thing was really what Yan Shoubao expected. Moreover, Yan Shoubao was very fortunate that his choice was correct. He didn't act rashly when Yang Ming turned around. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The gigolo just wanted to raise the pistol, and a key hit him in the middle of his eyebrows. It completely entered his brain, leaving only the handle of the key outside. The gigolo's body twitched twice, then he slowly fell to the ground. He was no longer alive. I hate people who sneak attack from behind. Yang Ming turned around and said coldly. Just now, Yang Ming didn't insert the key into the safe because he wanted to use the key as a murder weapon. The bullets in the lipstick pistol could only be loaded with 2 bullets at a time. It had been used up. Yang Ming had no other weapons, so Yang Ming decided to use the key of the safe as a dart. Brother, it's not my intention. It's his own intention. Yan Shoubao hated the gigolo at the moment. You are so unlucky. You are not as powerful as him, but you still want to sneak attack him. You are just a fool. Fuck your mother. If you want to commit suicide, don't drag me down with you. It was no wonder that Yan Shoubao would scold the gigolo's mother because he was really angry at the moment. I just prayed for the forgiveness of this great god, Yang Ming, and you went to provoke this great god again. I know. Yang Ming said faintly. However, Yang Ming's faint words made Yan Shoubao suddenly feel like a spring breeze. It was like returning to the human world from hell. He had a lot of cold sweat. Brother, you are still wise. Brother, you can rest assured. I will throw this super invincible idiot who sneak attacked you into sulfuric acid and let him die without a complete corpse. Don't talk about those useless things. The key is stained with blood. I don't want to take it. Forget it. I don't want the toll. Yang Ming waved his hand and said, however, I hope you don't let me pay for the after-sale service. Otherwise, humph. Yang Ming sneered twice and didn't continue, but the meaning was self-evident. It was definitely more serious than this time. Brother, you can rest assured. Yan Shoubao was already disheartened, especially when Yang Ming had his back. He could sense that someone wanted to sneak attack him. Yan Shoubao was secretly shocked. What kind of organization does this person belong to? How can he be so agile? Yang Ming concentrated and stared at Yan Shoubao. He didn't speak. Yan Shoubao was stared at by Yang Ming. He was suddenly nervous and scared. He didn't know what Yang Ming wanted to do. Brother, What I said before is true, damn, if I knew that Mingyang Heavy Industry had found such a badass person, I wouldn't have bothered them. What's the difference between this and playing with fire? Let's quickly cancel the company in a while and change to another line of work. Otherwise, if we are all in heavy machinery, even if we don't bother the Mingyang company, it is inevitable that there will be conflicts of interest. If Mingyang uses this as an excuse to let this guy come back for after-sales service, then it will not be a normal fuck. Seeing Yan Shoubao's inner thoughts, Yang Ming nodded slowly and completely believed in Yan Shoubao. He would not trouble Mingyang Heavy Industry again in the future. Previously, Yang Ming had found the trick to using this special ability. That was, when the target was extremely nervous, as long as he concentrated, he could see the target's thoughts. After this experiment, Yang Ming mastered the technique of using this special ability more skillfully. It was just that the limitations of this special ability were too great. It couldn't be used at any time. Yang Ming had also thought about it. Why can I only see through other people's thoughts when they are nervous? However, even after thinking about it for a long time, Yang Ming did not find the exact reason. However, it should probably be because when a person was nervous, his thoughts and willpower were relatively weak. At this time, he could take advantage of the weakness and see his true thoughts through his will. However, this was also Yang Ming's guess. There was no way to confirm it now. I believe you for the time being. Yang Ming nodded. Will you deal with the body? Don't worry, brother. I will take care of it. When Yan Shoubao heard Yang Ming say this, he knew that his life was saved. He was really stupid at the beginning. He actually wanted to go against the brother in front of him. Wasn't that asking for death? You won't call the police, right? Yang Ming guessed that this guy would not call the police, but he still asked. If he had the intention to call the police, then Yang Ming would continue to threaten him. Brother, they are all people who have committed murder in the south. If I go to the police, won't I be asking for trouble? What if I am involved again? Yan Shoubao explained with a wry smile. He did not hide it from Yang Ming. Now, he said whatever he wanted to say. Let's go. I hope we won't see each other again in the future. Otherwise, it will be the last time we see each other. After Yang Ming finished, he turned and walked to the door of Yan Shoubao's office. Yan Shoubao's heart trembled. He watched Yang Ming's back as he left his office. Then, he suddenly slumped in the boss chair. After a long while, he took out his cell phone and dialed a number. Ertzi, come to my office. Deal with something with me. Don't ask anything. Hurry up and come over. The Ertzi in Yan Shoubao's mouth was his younger brother. Now, he could only tell these things to the people closest to him. Soon, Ertzi came to Yan Shoubao's office. When he saw the dead bodies all over the floor and his elder brother who was covered in blood, he was shocked. He shouted angrily, "Which bastard is so bold? He dares to come to Songkuan and behave atrociously." Yan Shoubao was shocked. He was afraid that Yang Ming could hear Ertzi's words. He quickly said, "Ertzi, you can't talk nonsense. What the hell happened? Elder brother, what are you doing?" Ertzi was stunned after listening to Yan Shoubao's words. This was not like the usual elder brother. Now that things had become like this, he was not angry at all. Instead, there was some fear in his words. Yan Shoubao told what happened to Ertzi in detail. After Ertzi listened, he was silent. Looking carefully at the tragic deaths of several bodyguards on the ground, Ertzi also knew that his elder brother had provoked someone he couldn't afford to provoke. The two brothers packed the corpses in a woven bag, and then transported them to the basement warehouse where sulfuric acid was stored with a dedicated cargo ladder. They were directly thrown into the pool of concentrated sulfuric acid. Then, a burst of smoke came out. It was estimated that in a few days, nothing would be left. Only Yan Shoubao had the key to this warehouse. He was not afraid that others would come in and find it. Back in the office with Erzi, Yan Shoubao began to discuss with Erzi about canceling the company. This was an urgent matter. Yan Shoubao did not want the next person to die to be him. As for what to do after canceling the company, Yan Shoubao had not thought about it yet. However, even if he did nothing, the money he had earned over the years was enough for him to squander for several lifetimes. Yang Ming was like nothing at the moment. He drove the Dongfeng truck and swaggered out of the Songkuan machinery factory, heading to the investment promotion construction company. After successfully delivering the goods and getting the full payment for the goods, the engineers of the investment promotion construction company were very satisfied with the construction machinery produced by Mingyang Heavy Industry. They agreed to a long-term cooperation in the future. However, they seemed to know about Songkuan Machinery's Yan Shoubao. How could Yan Shoubao not take any measures? The people of Songkuan Machinery didn't trouble you. The people of the investment promotion construction company in Phoenix City asked Yang Ming in surprise. Trouble? No, but I heard that Songkuan Machinery is going to change its industry. Yang Ming said with a smile. Change of industry. These people certainly wouldn't believe Yang Ming's words. Songkuan Machinery had also been producing construction machinery for many years. Although the quality was not as good as Mingyang Heavy Industry, there was also a market. It was impossible to change its industry, right? So they thought that Yang Ming was just joking and didn't take it seriously. Unexpectedly, the next day, a shocking piece of news was published in the newspaper. Songkuan Machinery Company announced bankruptcy. This left everyone dumbfounded. Of course, these were all in the future. After Yang Ming successfully handed over the goods and got the payment, he returned to Songjiang. Although he hadn't rested, Yang Ming didn't have any meaning to stay in Phoenix City. It was better to go back as soon as possible. Besides, Yang Ming's physical strength was extraordinary, so he didn't feel very tired. It was slow to go, but it was fast to return. This seemed to be an illusion that most people had. Yang Ming was no exception. It was the same journey, but Yang Ming felt that it was much faster to return to Songjiang. Just out of the highway and through the toll booth, Yang Ming saw a row of police cars parked not far away. The lights flashed, signaling the passing vehicles to stop. Yang Ming didn't care. He didn't overload, and he didn't violate the rules. It shouldn't have anything to do with him, but what he didn't expect was that he was also stopped. The car number is 9100. Stop by the side. Yang Ming's license plate number came from the loudspeaker. Yang Ming was helpless. He had to stop the car by the side, and then get out of the car with his driver's license. However, this policeman didn't seem to have the intention of asking Yang Ming for his driver's license. Instead, he led Yang Ming to an Iveco police car not far away and said, "You go in." Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable, but he still got in the car according to the police's instructions. The reason why Yang Ming was very obedient was that Yang Ming carefully observed the police's uniform and the license plate of the standard police car. After confirming that it was real, he got in the car. Chapter 898. After getting on the police car, Yang Ming found that this Iveco police car was already filled with many people, but they were basically not police officers. They looked like Yang Ming, like drivers. When Yang Ming stopped the car before, he found that many cars entering the city from here were stopped, and most of them were trucks and cars with foreign license plates. He thought it was a joint operation to catch a car, but it didn't seem to be the case. In the Iveco, two policewomen were talking to these drivers. Yang Ming looked carefully. Oh, there was actually an acquaintance. Xia Shui also saw Yang Ming and was slightly stunned. She hadn't seen Yang Ming for some days. She didn't expect to meet him again under such circumstances. That time in the Wang family's fortress, she almost raped Yang Ming. Although it was also under the influence of the drug, Xia Shui was still a little embarrassed every time she saw Yang Ming. Originally, if this kind of thing happened, it would be the boy who pushed the girl down. How could the girl push the boy back? Little did she know that Yang Ming also met someone who was more aggressive than her. Seeing Xia Shui, Yang Ming also thought of Huang Lele. After comparison, he found that the personalities of the two people were really similar. If they were together, they should be able to play well. With this idea, Yang Ming was shocked. What am I thinking? Do I think it's not lively enough? I already have so many girls around me, and I actually have thoughts about Xia Shui. Moreover, if something really happened between me and Xia Shui, then it would be difficult to explain to Qin Fei. Qin Fei would probably be furious if he knew. After I flirted with his daughter, I flirted with his colleague. Isn't this a joke? Yang Ming quickly put away the thoughts that he shouldn't have and nodded to Xia Shui with a smile. However, he couldn't help but think of Xia Shui's flirtatious and crazy behavior that day. Yang Ming sighed. There was always a gap between thoughts and actions. If possible, Yang Ming certainly wanted to take advantage of the situation and directly push Xia Shui down, but the consequences were very serious. So, between desire and reason, Yang Ming still chose reason. In these few days, the snow in Songjiang is relatively heavy. The cars in the city have already been notified through the broadcast, but you drivers from other places or truck drivers who come back from long distances probably don't know. So in order to reduce the accident casualty rate, we deliberately set up a temporary publicity point here to publicize and popularize your safety knowledge. Xia Shui was now speaking to everyone, so she didn't greet Yang Ming. The drivers present sat there, quietly listening to Xia Shui speak. They didn't know what Xia Shui meant by saying this, but they still listened carefully. Xiao Liao, you go and distribute the map to everyone. Xia Shui said to another policewoman beside her. The policewoman named Xiao Liao picked up a stack of printed maps and began to distribute them to every driver present. Yang Ming was no exception. He got a copy. This is a map of the areas with high incidence of accidents. I hope that after everyone gets the map, take a careful look. Try not to drive to these sections, especially at night. Xia Shui pointed to the marks on the map and gestured to everyone. Okay. After these drivers got the map, they nodded again and again. Since the police had reminded them, who would want to go to these places to die? They all agreed. All right, everyone can go back. Drive carefully on the road. Xia Shui nodded and said to everyone. Ah. We can go just like that. When the drivers got out of the car, they were somewhat inexplicable and started to talk about it. I thought I violated the rules, said another driver. Is this map free? I thought there was going to be a disguise charge, said a driver from another place. It's still the traffic police of Songjiang City who are responsible. They are still here to remind us in the middle of the night. It's really touching. Another driver from another place said emotionally. After knowing that they didn't do anything wrong and that the map was free, everyone was grateful to Xia Shui. After saying some words of thanks, they left Iveco. However, after they left, Yang Ming didn't get off the car. First, he was a little curious. Xia Shui wasn't a traffic police. Others didn't know this, but Yang Ming was very clear that Xia Shui, as the deputy captain of the criminal investigation team of the police station, couldn't personally come to the highway intersection to do something that ordinary traffic police would do. If the deputy captain of the criminal investigation team of a city had nothing to do and ran to the street to be a traffic police, then the security of the city had at least reached the level of not closing the door at night. Song Jiang was obviously not like that. So this made Yang Ming wonder what Xia Shui was doing. Second, he hadn't seen Xia Shui for so long. Yang Ming knew that even if he wanted to leave, Xia Shui would stop him. Sure enough, when most of the drivers were preparing to get off, Xia Shui coughed twice to Yang Ming and said, "You stay first." These drivers thought that Yang Ming had violated the rules, and now she wanted to punish him. While they sympathized with Yang Ming, their footsteps quickened at the same time. They thought that this policewoman was beautiful, but if she asked them to stay, then they would be done for. Yang Ming didn't have these thoughts. He didn't violate the rules, and he also knew that Xia Shui wasn't a traffic police, so it was impossible for her to punish him. After the drivers got off, Xia Shui took a long sigh of relief and licked her lips. She was very sexy. Under this dim reading light, she looked very attractive, especially with the uniform on her body. It was simply a uniform temptation. Yang Ming's heart was itching. If he hadn't experienced that ambiguous scene before, maybe Yang Ming wouldn't be so impulsive. But now, every sexy action of Xia Shui would make Yang Ming feel impulsive. Xia Shui didn't notice Yang Ming's abnormality. She used her hand to tidy up the hair on her forehead and said, "Just in time. I was still worried about what to eat in a while, and you came to me." Xia Shui wasn't soft-hearted about slaughtering Yang Ming. Although there was a little ambiguity between the two of them, this didn't affect Yang Ming's promise to fulfill his lifetime meal ticket promise. But then again, when Xia Shui said this sentence, she didn't mean anything else. It was also after the incident with Yang Ming that Xia Shui became a little sensitive. She carefully recalled the tone and words she used with Yang Ming. It really seemed that they were no different from lovers. However, since he had almost done something as crazy as reverse reasoning, what he had done before was nothing. "I was caught, okay." Yang Ming suddenly broke into a sweat. Why does Xia Shui seem to be reincarnated by a hungry ghost? It was reasonable to say that Xia Shui was now single. With her current position, her salary was completely enough for her to use. She couldn't even spend it all. Moreover, her usual bonus was probably not small. Why does she like to be greedy for my meal? Caught. I'm teaching you about traffic knowledge. Xia Shui said without a care, but it seems that this map should be useless to you. Xia Shui was still brooding about the last time she lost to Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't look at the map carefully. In his opinion, these areas weren't T-junctions or other dangerous sections. How could there be a high accident rate? If there was, then there could only be one possibility, which was Yang Ming's suddenly association to the previous haunted case. Yes, that case happened to be Xia Shui's responsibility. Could it be that these sections were haunted locations? When Yang Ming thought of this, he suddenly felt that it was very possible. Otherwise, traffic publicity should be done by the traffic police. No matter how tight the manpower was, it was impossible for Xia Shui to do it personally. "Captain Xia, you guys chat. I will go and walk around first." Xiao Liao saw that Yang Ming and Xia Shui were very close, and Xia Shui even asked Yang Ming to treat her to a meal, so Xiao Liao naturally regarded Yang Ming as Xia Shui's boyfriend. Xiao Liao naturally wouldn't be the annoying third wheel, so she found an excuse to get out of the car. Xia Shui said, "Ah," and wanted to explain something. Then, she felt that there was no need to explain. She was now a leader. Did she still need to explain to her subordinates? So, she nodded and said, "You pack up. It's time for our shift change. Captain Li will bring people to replace us in a while." "Okay." Xiao Liao looked at her watch and thought that she could finally get off work. Recently, she was really busy. She worked overtime day and night, but there was no clue at all. So far, she hadn't figured out what was going on with the ghost. Originally, the haunted incident was simply nonsense in the eyes of most people. Even if Xia Shui was in charge of this case, the criminal investigation team didn't pay much attention to it. However, recently, with the increasing number of traffic accidents, there were also some survivors who said that they had seen ghosts. Only then did the team pay attention to this matter. Because this was no longer a prank, this had risen to the level of a serious criminal case. While Chen Fei let Xia Shui continue to follow up, he also let Deputy Captain Li put down his work and work with Xia Shui to investigate the haunted case. With the expansion of the matter, panic had already arisen among the citizens. In short, there were all kinds of rumors. Some said that the corpse came out from the hospital morgue. Some said that the zombie king was dug out from the construction site. Some said that it ran away when the zombie herders came from Xiangbei. Even more, they actually said that aliens had invaded the Earth. Although the officials repeatedly refuted the rumors, the direction of public opinion was invincible. Many taxi drivers didn't dare to drive at night, which brought great inconvenience to the normal travel of Songjiang's citizens. The city also attached great importance to this and ordered Chen Fei to solve the case as soon as possible. They must bring the criminal suspect behind the haunted case to justice. However, under the pressure of not having the slightest clue, in order to reduce the accident rate, Xia Shui had to print some maps based on the previous haunted locations. She lied that it was a traffic accident area caused by slippery roads. These maps were distributed to the drivers who came to Songjiang so that they would try not to go to those places. Chapter 899. Wait for me. Xia Shui said to Yang Ming, I'm going to get off work soon. Yang Ming nodded his head. What could he do? Since he had already said the big words, he couldn't refuse, right? Sure enough, it didn't take long for Yang Ming to see Deputy Captain Li, who he had met in the hospital before, bring a few criminal police officers to take over the shift. Little Xia, you've worked hard. After Deputy Captain Li got in the car, he nodded to Xia Shui. You haven't eaten yet, right? Although Xia Shui was already the deputy captain, because Xia Shui was relatively young, Deputy Captain Li, who was on the same level as Xia Shui, called Xia Shui Little Xia. It sounded more intimate. Brotherly, my friend is here. Let's eat together in a while. Xia Shui pointed to Yang Ming and smiled. Hee, then let's go quickly. It's not early. We all finished eating and came over. Deputy Captain Li glanced at Yang Ming and wondered. Last time, he saw Yang Ming in the hospital. Yang Ming came with Captain Chen's family. He seemed to be the boyfriend of Captain Chen's daughter. How did he get together with Xia Shui? However, he felt strange, but he didn't think much about it. Maybe they had something to talk about. Years of criminal investigation work had made him develop the idea that it was useless to doubt without evidence. When he got off the Iveco with Xia Shui, a cold wind came. Xia Shui couldn't help but shiver. The winter night in Songjiang was very cold. It was a world of ice and snow. This northern city was probably one of the coldest cities in the country. Where's your car? Xia Shui looked around. Except for a few police cars, the other official vehicles were also from the police team. She didn't see Yang Ming's car. It's not here. It's parked over there. Yang Ming pointed to the Dongfeng truck that was parked not far away. Ah! Xia Shui was stunned. She looked at the huge truck incredulously and looked at Yang Ming. Are you serious? That car is yours. It's mine. What do you think? Cool enough, right? Yang Ming smiled. Don't tell me you've gone mad from watching Jean gang the shapeshifter. He got an Optimus Prime to drive. Xia Shui was a little speechless. She didn't know where Yang Ming got such a car. I helped a friend to make a long-distance trip and deliver some goods. Yang Ming no longer teased Xia Shui and told her the truth. I see. Xia Shui nodded in realization. But you're really good at making trouble. You even helped people deliver goods. Is there no other way? I can't get away from it. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't tell Xia Shui the details of the company's dispute, so he just talked about it in general terms. I haven't sat in this car yet, so I'll give it a try. Xia Shui volunteered to sit in the driver's seat. I say, can you drive this car with your driver's license? Yang Ming was a little worried. Che, I'm the deputy captain of the criminal investigation team. Who dares to stop me? Xia Shui said proudly, however, you underestimate me too much. We are criminal police officers. We must know how to drive any car. In a critical moment, sometimes one more skill is a better chance of survival. Yang Ming thought, it's not just you. Aren't we the same as assassins? Of course, Yang Ming didn't dare to say this to Xia Shui. His relationship with this chick wasn't very solid. What if she turned hostile and arrested him? Xia Shui started the car, and the big truck slowly moved forward. It seemed that Xia Shui's skills were really good. This car is quite easy to drive. The steering wheel is powered. Xia Shui said. Xia Shui, you're not a traffic police officer. You shouldn't be responsible for the matter just now, right? Now that only he and Xia Shui were left, Yang Ming didn't have to hide anything. Xia Shui listened to Yang Ming's words, but she hesitated. She couldn't reveal anything about the case to Yang Ming, but why did she feel that there was a sense of friendship between her and Yang Ming? What's more, Yang Ming also helped her solve a big smuggling case. Hee, you don't have to hide it from me. On the day of Uncle Chen's accident, I was also there. I can guess these things. Yang Ming saw Xia Shui's hesitation, so he said with a smile. Forget it. Since you know, then I don't need to hide it from you. Xia Shui remembered that Yang Ming also had some understanding of the case before. When she dealt with another car accident, Yang Ming was also present, so even if she wanted to hide it from Yang Ming, she couldn't hide it. It's that case, why? Has it become so serious now? Yang Ming saw that Xia Shui had begun to print leaflets, which showed that the crime rate had reached a very high number. And there have been 3 more cases in the past few days. Xia Shui nodded and asked strangely, you don't know? Haven't you heard the rumors in Songjiang's people? I went out for a few days, so I don't know what happened during this time. Yang Ming shook his head. These 3 car accidents were caused by the driver seeing ghosts. So you went out. When Xia Shui heard Yang Ming say this, she thought that Yang Ming had been delivering goods to others for a few days, so she didn't ask much. Instead, she continued, not all of them. There was a car accident, and there were 2 survivors. They were tourists who came to Songjiang to travel. According to them, that night, they got lost on a small road. They couldn't turn left or right. Suddenly, they found a fork in the main road in front of them, so the driver drove along this fork, but he didn't expect the car to hit something all of a sudden. The passengers in the car all fainted. When we arrived, we found that there was no fork at all, but a stone wall. Their car had been deformed. Fortunately, they were tourists from other places. They weren't familiar with the road, so they didn't dare to drive too fast. Otherwise, the people in the car would probably be finished. But when we arrived, the driver had disappeared. Ghost going around the wall. Yang Ming was stunned and blurted out. But after saying it, he felt that it was unscientific, so he said, Could it be that the people in the car had hallucinations? Hallucinations. As Xia Shui said this, she couldn't help but frown. But we immediately tested the two survivors for alcohol. There was no reaction. That is to say, the two people were in the same state at the time. Moreover, even if one person had hallucinations, it was impossible for everyone in the car to have hallucinations. Including the driver, the three of them clearly saw that there was a road in front. Right, you said that the driver disappeared. Did he abandon the car and run away? When it came to the driver, Yang Ming immediately asked, baffled. Run away. Xia Shui couldn't help but smile bitterly. If he ran away, it would be fine. Judging from our on-site investigation and the degree of distortion in the driver's seat, the driver was definitely dead. The other two passengers were lucky enough to escape because they were sitting in the back row. But the driver's seat was already bleeding like a river, and broken internal organ fragments were found on the wiper controller. That is to say, the wiper controller was inserted into the driver's body. You tell me, in this case, can the driver still be alive? Even if he is alive, can he abandon the car and run away? Ah. Yang Ming was obviously shocked after listening to Xia Shui's words. He immediately said, then you mean, someone took the body away? It should be like this. Xia Shui nodded. After many meetings and discussions, we decided to merge this case with the previous haunted case. Although we don't know what means the suspect used to confuse the eyes of the passengers in the car, there are similarities in the modus operandi. Moreover, the reason why the case was quickly merged was because the driver's body was lost. This is the same as the other traffic case. When we arrived at the accident scene, the driver in the car also disappeared strangely. Inferring from the degree of deformation of the car body at that time, the driver was also dead. This person also stole the body. Yang Ming felt that things were getting more and more complicated. What was the use of stealing the body? It should be like this. Xia Shui sighed. At first, we suspected that this was a crime committed by a human organ smuggling organization, but then it was quickly ruled out because the people who died in the car accident, although the body was fresh, the organ damage was the most serious. This kind of organ can't be of any value. Moreover, the reason why this speculation was denied was that the other two passengers in the car were just unconscious and did not suffer any major injuries. If this tissue map was a human organ, they could kill the two passengers and take their organs, but they didn't. They only wanted the body. Yang Ming nodded thoughtfully. He seemed to have grasped some clues, but because of Xia Shui's words, it made Yang Ming feel ethereal again. Originally, Yang Ming suddenly thought of Chen Afu, the perverted madman who liked to pretend to be a ghost to scare people. If it was simply pretending to be a ghost to scare people, Chen Afu might do it, but after scaring people to death and then stealing the body, it seemed that Chen Afu couldn't do it. Chen Afu's current job seemed to be a hotel waiter. He had no use for the body, not to mention that the process of transporting the body was easy to be discovered. Listening to what you said, that is to say, the body was not lost every time? Asked Yang Ming. That's right. But even so, we can still combine the cases. Because in the cases where the bodies were not missing, we rushed to the scene when someone reported the case very soon after the accident. In the other cases where the bodies were missing, we rushed to the scene when someone reported the case long after the accident. Xia Shui said, so we determined that the body was not lost before because the suspect did not have time to commit the crime. In other words, the person who committed the crime did not immediately move the body after the crime. After Yang Ming listened, he suddenly asked, could it be that it was not done by one person? The person who stole the body and the person who pretended to be a ghost are two groups of people. Chapter 900. We thought about it at the time, but the possibility is very small. Xia Shui shook her head and said, if it was two groups of people, the timing couldn't be so accurate. Someone just died here, and they went to steal the body. So we think it should be the same criminal suspect or criminal gang. Yang Ming was good at killing people, but he was a layman in solving cases, especially in reasoning and analysis. He was far worse than Xia Shui, who was a professional. Xia Shui's analysis was obviously the result of a group of professionals, so Yang Ming didn't interrupt. This kind of thing should be left to the police. Yang Ming felt that he couldn't help for the time being. Xia Shui parked the car outside her community because Yang Ming's car was a bit too big. If he drove into the community door might be scratched. Isn't this your home? After Xia Shui stopped the car, Yang Ming found out that this was the entrance of Xia Shui's community. Could it be that Xia Shui, this girl, was in love and used eating as an excuse to trick me into coming to her house? Yang Ming had some feelings for Xia Shui. At this moment, he couldn't help but think about eroticism. If Xia Shui really invited me, then I won't back out this time. Yang Ming was just thinking about it, but he heard Xia Shui say, you wait for me here. I will go up and change my clothes. Change clothes. Isn't this pretty? It's valiant. Yang Ming's thoughts returned to reality. To be honest, he still preferred Xia Shui in uniform. There was a different kind of taste, and it was indescribable temptation. Do you want me to make a mistake? Wearing the uniform to the entertainment venue? Xia Shui glared at Yang Ming and got out of the car. Yang Ming just reacted. Now, civil servants were not allowed to wear uniforms to enter the entertainment venue when they were not performing official duties. The sound of high heels dang 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 brought back Yang Ming's thoughts. When he looked closely, Yang Ming's jaw almost dropped. Xia Shui was wearing a tight black leather jacket and a pair of high-heeled leather boots. Her hair had changed from a ponytail to a more popular, Daoist hairstyle. She had the image of a modern girl. When Yang Ming wondered if this person was Xia Shui's twin sister, she had already knocked on the car door. It's your turn to drive. I changed my shoes. I'm not used to it. After hearing the voice, Yang Ming confirmed that the person in front of him was Xia Shui. He switched to the driver's seat and gave the passenger seat to Xia Shui. Why do I feel that you are like a girl who hitched a ride with a truck driver on the road? Yang Ming looked at the sexy Xia Shui and said incredulously. How is it? Do I look good? Xia Shui saw Yang Ming's lecherous eyes and was a little proud. This outfit was chosen for her by her close friend when she went to the police academy a few days ago. When she saw Xia Shui usually dressed properly, she was a little angry and lectured Xia Shui, what's wrong with the police? The police are also people. After work, no one will say anything if you dress up fashionably. Look at me. A few days ago, I disguised as a passerby to handle a case. There was even a magazine reporter who asked me to shoot the cover. Xia Shui was also a girl. Everyone loved beauty. When she heard the words of her close friend, she was a little moved. So, under the temptation of her close friend, she gritted her teeth and spent 10,000 yuan to buy this outfit. Don't say that Xia Shui was stingy. In fact, Xia Shui had fallen out with her family now. She didn't ask for money from her family. Naturally, she had to be more careful. Of course, it was one thing to be happy to wear the clothes. The most important thing was to have someone to appreciate it. So, when she saw Yang Ming's eyes were fixed, Xia Shui was very happy. Ugh! Yang Ming smiled slyly. Do you know? When I saw you, I wanted to ask you something. What? Xia Shui was immersed in the joy of narcissism. Naturally, she didn't notice Yang Ming's slyness. Not to mention, it was dark in the car. Xia Shui didn't have Yang Ming's special ability. Even if she wanted to see, she couldn't see. "Miss, how much is the overnight package?" Yang Ming asked seriously. "N." Xia Shui was stunned for a moment, then her face turned red. "You get out of here." "Ha ha ha ha." Yang Ming suddenly laughed. He hadn't bickered with Xia Shui for a long time. This feeling was really interesting. Xia Shui bit her lip. From the initial anger to the disappointment and even some depression, she lowered her head and became silent. Yang Ming also noticed that Xia Shui was not in a good mood. He suddenly realized that his joke seemed to have gone a bit overboard, so he quickly apologized. "Xia Shui, are you angry?" Xia Shui didn't speak. She still lowered her head silently. "I was joking," Yang Ming said humbly. "It couldn't be helped." "Who asked his joke to be overboard?" "Yang Ming, you said, this dress, is it really like that?" After a long while, Xia Shui looked up and her tone was full of disappointment. "How could it be? I already said that I was joking." Yang Ming also knew that he had gone overboard. It seemed that this should be the first time Xia Shui wore such fashionable clothes. He just had to attack her self-confidence. This was the most hateful thing. You don't have to persuade me. It seems that I'm still not suitable to wear these." Xia Shui really lost her confidence. She had been looking in the mirror at home for a long time. She wanted to give Yang Ming a stunning feeling. "Xia Shui, are you serious? It's not like we haven't joked before. Do you believe what I said so easily? Then, I also said that we will have a child called Yang Guangming in the future. Do you want to have one too?" It couldn't be helped. However, there were still some larger bars that were more formal. Yang Ming was now going to such a bar. From the outside, the bar looked very stylish. It was a Russian-style bar with a pointed roof and protruding wall carvings. It made people feel like they were in a foreign land. The bar waiter was stunned as he watched the two young men and women who got off the giant truck enter the bar. After a long time, he clicked his tongue and said, "Fuck, our truck driver's so popular now. TSK, look at his girlfriend. She is so beautiful. When I learn how to drive one day, I will also be a truck driver." Of course, Yang Ming didn't pay attention to the waiter's eyes and entered the bar with the sexy Xia Shui. The Russian country-style decoration made the bar look more stylish. In many details, it could be seen that the owner of this bar was a very careful person. Although the overall design looked good, it gave Yang Ming the feeling that the design of this bar was too careful. Many details were so detailed that it was somewhat artificial. This meant that the owner of the bar should be a person who was more vain and prideful. Of course, these were all Yang Ming's guesses. It was a problem from the perspective of assassin psychology, and it wasn't completely 100% accurate. "Welcome. Do you two prefer lively or quiet?" The waiter came over with a smile and stood in front of Yang Ming and Xia Shui. "Be quiet." Yang Ming didn't like the feeling of noise. Presumably, Xia Shui wouldn't like it either. "Okay." The waiter nodded. If the guests liked to be quiet, he would naturally arrange for the guests to be in a position far away from the stage and the bar. Chapter 901. Don't be quiet. It's better to come to the bar. Xia Shui was out of character today. She walked to a position closer to the stage. The waiter looked up at Yang Ming helplessly. He didn't know what to do. "Then, sit here." Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand to the waiter. It seemed that Xia Shui's recent pressure was really great. Otherwise, she wouldn't use this way to vent the pressure in her heart. On the dance floor, the deafening heavy metal music and the flickering spotlights were playing. Under the lights, a group of young men and women were jumping and jumping crazily. They shouted some inexplicable sounds. It was almost wild, but it was the best way to vent the pressure in the body. Most of these people were white-collar workers who had a lot of pressure during the day. At night, they used this way to vent. The air was full of noise and obscenity. It was a drunken stupor. It was grotesque and dazzling. In this endless noise, Yang Ming slowly sat opposite Xia Shui. He hadn't had this feeling for many years. Yang Ming remembered his junior high school, the time when he was drunk. Yang Ming, can you imagine? The people on the dance floor, most of them are well-dressed, very gentle and polite people during the day. At night, they are as wild as beasts. Xia Shui looked at the crowd on the dance floor and said to Yang Ming. Hee, you don't want to say that you want to be one of them, right? Yang Ming laughed after listening. A little bit, but I have never tried it. I am a little timid. Xia Shui didn't hide it. Using this way to vent the pressure of work was also told to her by her close friend. She was in the anti-drug brigade in the neighboring city, Jiduan City. Her work pressure was not less than her own. She often went to places like the disco bar to vent the pressure of work. In her words, she could also work while she was having fun. She could catch some small fries who sold shaking head rice. Maybe she could dig up valuable clues from someone. At that time, Xia Shui still didn't take it seriously. However, these days, as the case was at a loss, Xia Shui's mood became very depressed. Xia Shui also knew that she would be sick if she continued like this, but she had to let herself be full of pressure. After all, this was the first case that she had taken over after being promoted to deputy captain of the Criminal Investigation Unit. Although the rest of the team didn't say anything, Xia Shui was afraid that others would think that she wasn't capable enough to take on this heavy burden. If it was a normal day, even if Xia Shui wanted to go to the bar, she wouldn't have the courage. In her opinion, it was very awkward for a girl to go to the bar by herself. Today, she caught Yang Ming, so she pulled Yang Ming to the bar. However, even though she had come, Xia Shui still couldn't bring herself to let her go to the dance floor and twist her body crazily like the others and finally let out a primal scream. When Yang Ming saw Xia Shui's appearance at this time, he knew that it was definitely her first time coming to this kind of bar. Of course, the pure style of the Blue Fish bar didn't count. Yang Ming knew that Xia Shui wanted to go down and vent like those people, but because it was her first time, she wasn't used to it. So, he waved to the waiter. As the saying goes, alcohol can make one bold. After a few drinks, he believed that Xia Shui would definitely be bold enough to go down. Xia Shui, this girl, could do such a bad-ass thing when she drank too much. What was the point of twisting her but on the dance floor? Let's have a drink first. Yang Ming said to Xia Shui. All right. Xia Shui nodded. Yang Ming's suggestion was exactly what she wanted. Sir, what can I do for you? The waiter came over with a smile. Is there anything to drink? Asked Yang Ming. Sir, do you want a beverage or alcohol? Asked the waiter. Bar, preferably beer. Yang Ming looked at Xia Shui. He thought, I should drink beer with her. If I drink some strong alcohol, this chick will do a reverse push in the bar. Then, it won't be good. If I want to push, I should at least go to her house. That way, it would be safe. If XX in the bar was caught by the anti-pornography brigade, Xia Shui would really be famous tomorrow. Corona, Heineken, Carlsberg and Xingli. Which one do you want, sir? The waiter introduced. Do you have Songjiang beer? Asked Yang Ming. Yes, there are cans of pure beer. The waiter said. Don't you have that kind of big glass bottle? Yang Ming felt that the local beer in the glass bottle was the best to drink. Ugh. I'm sorry, sir. We don't have that kind of. The waiter sweated a bit. This is a bar, not a food stall. How can they sell that kind of beer? Forget it. Give me Corona. Yang Ming told the waiter. In fact, the authentic Corona beer was still good. After all, it was famous in the world. It was just that some bars in China were more black-hearted. They used fake Corona to deceive customers. These fake Corona beers were filled by some small wineries. The taste wasn't really good. It was comparable to horse urine. Therefore, Yang Ming wasn't willing to ask for foreign wine when he went to the bar. After all, there were more fake ones. However, no one would fake the local beer in the large glass bottle. 2 yuan per bottle. Who would fake it? It wasn't troublesome enough. How many bottles do you want, sir? The waiter nodded to show that he had noted it down. First. Yang Ming looked up at Xia Shui. He didn't know how much Xia Shui could drink. Give me 10 bottles. Xia Shui said. Okay. The waiter thought, this chick is really fierce. She ordered 10 bottles in one go. It didn't take long for the waiter to serve the beer. A row of small beer bottles filled the table between the two. Come, cheers. Xia Shui used the bottle opener to open the nearest bottle in front of her and raised it. Yang Ming smiled. He also opened a bottle and raised it. He clinked it with Xia Shui's bottle and then drank it. Xia Shui also drank it. Probably only the anesthesia of alcohol could make her forget the troubles in front of her for a while. Yang Ming was a veteran at drinking. Xia Shui wasn't weak either. Although she couldn't drink as much as Yang Ming, she was also a heroine. After 5 bottles of beer, her face was just a little red. At this moment, a dance song in the bar just ended. The DJ stood on the stage and shouted, "Is everyone high?" The men and women on the dance floor immediately shouted, "Hi, do you want to be more high?" The DJ continued to ask with his hoarse voice. Yes. The dance floor was in unison again. Good. The DJ nodded with satisfaction and continued to shout, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the night dance bar. I am the DJ, Agu. I will bring you endless music. Put down the beer and drinks in your hands, come to the dance floor, and move with me. Are you ready, music?" It had to be said that this DJ's tone was very provocative. At this time, many young men and women who came to sit in the bar stood up one after another and rushed to the dance floor. Vigorous and explosive dance music sounded, and the men and women on the dance floor danced to the lead DJ again. Yang Ming, let's go down too. Xia Shui wanted to go down and try it. Now that she was a little drunk and was stirred up by the DJ, she began to get restless. Now that many men and women had rushed to the dance floor, Xia Shui felt that it was more natural to go with them. Under the influence of alcohol, Xia Shui followed the rhythm of the music and instinctively began to twist her body. Many people on the dance floor were like Xia Shui. They didn't know how to dance. They just danced wildly, so no one would laugh at Xia Shui. Moreover, Xia Shui was a beauty. Many advantages of a beauty would be infinitely expanded, but many shortcomings would be automatically ignored and even considered cute. The familiar rhythm, the familiar atmosphere. At this moment, Yang Ming felt very far away from himself. Moving his body very awkwardly, Yang Ming found that he could ignore the rhythm of the dance song and do movements that were not commensurate with the dance song. This was an improvement. Most people would unconsciously follow the rhythm of the dance song under the rhythm of the dance song. Few people could go against the rhythm. Even if they subconsciously went against the rhythm of the dance song, they would inevitably follow the rhythm unconsciously. Yang Ming, as an assassin, must have a tenacious will and not be affected by any external factors. Now, even if this dance song was heard by Yang Ming could directly pretend that he didn't hear it. At first, Xia Shui was still not used to it, but after a few dances, she felt that it was no big deal, so she let go and danced boldly. After Yang Ming found the rhythm of the dance song, he also began to move his limbs slightly, but it was not dancing. It was more like a warm-up exercise before a fight. Yang Ming enjoyed Xia Shui's dance with interest, but he also looked at Xia Shui's surroundings vigilantly. The bar was full of people. Xia Shui was beautiful, and she was so sexy today. Even Yang Ming couldn't help but want to touch Xia Shui's thighs that were tightly wrapped by her leather pants, let alone those lechers. Sure enough, a guy who looked very gentle but his eyes were full of lust took advantage of Xia Shui's unpreparedness and wanted to come over and take advantage of her. He looked for an opportunity back and forth for a long time. Finally, when Xia Shui raised her hands, his perverted hand reached for Xia Shui's chest. Yang Ming wanted to remind Xia Shui, but when he saw Xia Shui's eyes, Yang Ming knew that Xia Shui had already noticed this guy's intention. It seems that Xia Shui's vigilance is quite high. She is worthy of being a criminal police officer. How can she be easily taken advantage of by these little hooligans? Pa, a loud sound, a slap on the face of the gentleman who wanted to take advantage of her. He was suddenly dazed. The perverted hand that he wanted to reach out couldn't help but retract and cover his face. You dare to fucking hit me. The gentleman was slapped by Xia Shui, and he suddenly became furious. Chapter 902. Although the sound of the slap was very loud and the roar of the gentleman was also very loud, under the music on the dance floor, it could only become a drop in the ocean. Hitting you is already considered light. What did you want to do just now? Don't you know it in your heart? Xia Shui glared at the gentleman and said without fear. Fuck, this chick is quite hot. But this brother likes this kind of chick. This kind of chick is hot enough in bed. The lecherous expression on the gentleman's face was obvious. Get lost. Do you have the guts to say it again? Do you believe that this old lady will let you stay in the police station? Xia Shui was immediately angry when she heard the vulgar words of the gentleman. Police station. Ha, don't scare me with this. Let me tell you, this old man's brother is the boss of this bar. He has a human life on his back. The gentleman laughed wildly and threatened. Human life. Xia Shui was stunned. Her slight drunkenness also woke up a lot. Her professional sensitivity made her immediately realize that things might not be simple. How is it? Are you scared? Seeing Xia Shui's expression, the gentleman thought that Xia Shui was scared and was very proud. Under pride, it was inevitable that he would forget himself. So, his perverted hand began to move again and touched Xia Shui's crotch. Originally, Xia Shui was already in a bad mood today, but this guy still challenged Xia Shui's limits again and again. Sure enough, at the moment when the gentleman was about to touch between Xia Shui's legs, Xia Shui suddenly kicked out and hit the gentleman's crotch. The gentleman immediately screamed, covered his crotch with both hands and bent down like a shrimp. Generally, policewomen were more disgusted with hooligans. Xia Shui was also the same. This guy actually dared to repeatedly act like a hooligan to a policewoman. He simply didn't want to live. Yang Ming looked at the gentleman who had become a soft-footed shrimp and sighed. You dare to flirt with Xia Shui, this female tyrannosaurus. You see, not only did you fail to flirt, but you became a second-class cripple instead. However, when did Xia Shui learn this unique secret of his that could end one's lineage? It's just that she didn't use it well enough. If it was him, this gentleman would be directly kicked to death like the black mold bodyguard. However, Yang Ming was very fortunate. There was always a big gap between people. He had taken advantage of Xia Shui many times, but when did he receive this kind of treatment? Suddenly, Yang Ming frowned. It seemed that this gentleman's every move had been seen by others, including the scene where Xia Shui kicked him to the ground. Because at this moment, a group of men in black suits holding rubber pipes had already surrounded Yang Ming and Xia Shui. The gentleman on the ground also saw this group of people, and suddenly he didn't care about the pain. He shouted as if he had taken stimulants, "Ah, who, catch this chick for me. Motherfucker, if I don't play her to death today, my surname isn't Jia." At this time, the dance music in the bar also stopped abruptly with the appearance of this group of people. On the DJ's stage, a man wearing a black leather jacket, who looked fierce but somewhat similar to the gentleman, took the microphone. "I'm sorry, everyone. I'm the owner of this bar. We have some internal matters to deal with. Tonight, all expenses are waived. Please leave the bar from the back door. Thank you for your cooperation." After that, the lights in the bar were turned on, and the entire bar became bright as day. "Aw. What's going on?" Many of the men and women on the dance floor didn't have enough fun. The dance music stopped, and the lights were on, which made them very unhappy. However, after seeing a group of fierce men in black holding rubber pipes on the dance floor, although they were unhappy, they didn't dare to have any objections. Not to mention that the bill was waived. They didn't lose anything, so they all left the bar from the back door under the guidance of the bar security. At this time, the main door of the bar had already been closed. Yang Ming looked at the black-shirt macho men around, and then blocked in front of Xia Shui. Although Xia Shui was a policewoman, and she had kung fu, she was still a girl after all. Yang Ming felt that he had an obligation to protect her. Xia Shui could deal with one or two punks, but this group of people, Xia Shui was probably not their opponent. Originally, if Yang Ming didn't protect Xia Shui, no one would notice that he was also with Xia Shui. But now, those black-shirt men also regarded Yang Ming as the target of attack. "Why don't you run?" Xia Shui looked at Yang Ming with some complaints. "Go out and call the police. I can handle it here for a while." "Aren't you a policewoman? Why do I need to call the police?" Yang Ming smiled. He naturally understood that Xia Shui didn't want him to be hurt because of her. I'm just one person." Xia Shui was so angry that she rolled her eyes. "Don't worry. It's just a few people. It was more dangerous in the Wang family. Both of us can pass it." Yang Ming smiled indifferently. When Xia Shui heard Yang Ming's words, she felt a lot more at ease. She recalled the past with Yang Ming. The two really had a feeling of sharing weal and woe. At this time, the gentleman who was kicked to the ground by Xia Shui just now stood up with the help of two security guards. He glared at Xia Shui fiercely. "Chick, if I don't make you suffer tonight, I won't be called Jia Siwen." "What? Fake gentleman." Yang Ming listened to the gentleman's name and suddenly laughed out loud. This guy's name really matches him. He really is a fake gentleman. Xia Shui was even more exaggerated. After listening to Jia Siwen's self-introduction, she was stunned for a moment and then suddenly laughed. "Laugh, laugh, laugh your mother." Jia Siwen usually hated it when others used his name as a joke. He immediately scolded. "Okay, your name is quite funny, but funny can't cover up the mistakes you have made." Yang Ming sneered and looked at Jia Siwen. His voice was a little cold. "Let's do this. You leave one hand, which is the right hand that you used to act like a hooligan. Then, don't open this bar. Sell it tomorrow. I can treat it as if nothing happened. Let's just forget about it." Jia Siwen listened to Yang Ming's words and couldn't help but laugh. "Oh. Okay, then let's do as you say. Yang Ming frowned. Obviously, Jia Siwen obviously took what he said as a joke. Yang Ming was a little impatient. Forget it. You don't look like a person who can be so easily convinced. If you have any ability, just use it. I don't have time to argue with you. Ha 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 ha, kid, is there water in your head? Jia Siwen endured the pain in his lower body, but he still couldn't help but laugh. Because no matter how he looked at it, Yang Ming's words were like the words of an ignorant fool. In this situation, he still wanted to cripple one of his hands and close the bar. You can try and know whose head is in the water, but I can guarantee that if you do it, you will pay more than just a hand. Yang Ming said coldly. You kid, whether you can see tomorrow's sun is another matter. Wait until you can see tomorrow's sun, then you can talk to me about this. Jia Siwen sneered disdainfully. Kill that kid. Leave the woman. The man who claimed to be the boss on the DJ stage finally spoke. The group of black-shirt men immediately waved the rubber tube and forced Yang Ming and Xia Shui. Stop. Yang Ming pointed to the black-shirt macho man in front and shouted, one more step and you will bear the consequences. The macho man was stunned, and then he sneered indifferently and rushed up. He waved the rubber tube and was about to hit Yang Ming. This kind of reckless fighting style made Yang Ming shake his head. This kind of person, if it weren't for Xia Shui, I wouldn't even bother to fight with him. He snatched the rubber tube from the macho man's hand like lightning, and then suddenly inserted the rubber tube into the macho man's mouth that was roaring. With a strong force, it was inserted into the macho man's throat. Ugh, ugh. The macho man's eyes immediately widened, and his face was full of painful expression. He was so disgusted that he retched. Yang Ming didn't want to appreciate this guy's appearance. He flew up and kicked the macho man's stomach, and the macho man flew out. When Yang Ming kicked, he calculated the direction. So, the macho man's body slammed into Jia Siwen. It was too late to dodge. Jia Siwen and the two security guards beside him were hit and fell to the ground together. I told you. One step forward and you will bear the consequences. Yang Ming shook his head. Some people just don't listen to other people's good advice.